Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome in Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. Let's get our heads right on a Tuesday morning. Got a lot to talk about today. A lot of fingers to point at people. A lot of blame to go around, certainly. Yeah. Well, listen. Here's what it is. What are you going to do? Good morning. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl. He's the executive producer. Morning to you, Paulie.
Having fun?
Having so much fun. I'm actually all right. I'll be okay. We'll all be okay. Benjamin Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, joins us as well.
Still friendly?
Are you friendly?
I don't know.
Are you unfriendly?
I'm not.
You're not friendly.
I don't think any of us are in the best of moods today as Padres
I'm
fans.
actually okay.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm much better this year than I was last year. I figured out how to do this. I take my Ambien very early. That is the key to my success. I took my Ambien very early last night. Now, I ended up fighting myself. When they started adding on in the ninth inning, I was like, you bastards, just let me sleep. You're not going to win this game. We know that. Come on. What are you doing?
I wonder how many people actually know the Padres brought the tying run to the plate.
I know, for real.
In the bottom of the ninth inning.
Yeah, they really
I'm just
did.
gonna say it. I was personally offended by them bringing the tying run to the plate.
It was offensive. Last night was massively offensive in so many ways.
I was sitting there like, even when Crony hit the double, I was like, you know how much better it is to say, we only got one effing hit?
One hit.
One hit?
Yep, I know, dude. I know. It was, I felt the same way. But that's how I've been. Because usually what I would do last year is I would watch the game in its entirety. And then the game would end, and I would take my Ambien then, and then it's 11. And I'm lying there like, God, I'm pissed at this team. Man, I'm so mad at this team. These guys suck, blah, blah, blah. And then it's, 11:30, and I got to be up at, my wife's going to get me up at 1:30. It was terrible.
Aren't you risking, though, at some point there's going to be a game that goes extra innings, and
Yeah.
it's the 10th, and you're all of a sudden you can't stay awake for it?
Well, it's the fight is the fun part. The fight against the effects is actually pretty fun. It's really fun. So I took it at like 7:30. I mean, it was like the 4th, and I was like, I'm not doing this all night. Took it, laid down, got the kids down, laid in bed. Hannah was dead asleep. And then I just started. About 8:30, I was like, I'm getting a little tired now. Had to get up, move around, got back in bed, watched the rest of the game. It was terrible, man. These guys stink. They stink. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, listen, it's a bad baseball team right now. 5 straight games. And
hopefully right now being the key phrase and not forever and ever and the rest of the season.
Or the rest of time, just until we die. That also is a possibility. I mean, the Doomers are out. I'm in my foot. I got a foot in the Doomer camp. I got a foot in the. I would never say I'm apathetic about this team or baseball, so I don't have a foot in the apathy camp. But I've got a foot in the Doomer camp.
There's only 2 camps. There's Doom, and there's 130 games still to play.
Right.
And we've barely scratched the surface of the season.
But those are the 2 camps that I'm in.
That's about it right now.
I have both feet in the Doomer camp right now. That's where my feet rest. And by Doomer, I don't mean just this season. I mean, hey, this is what it's going to be like in perpetuity, right, for this team. So, yeah, man, there's a lot to talk about in last night's game. Again, one of the most boring games you'll ever watch, unless you're a Reds fan. You're pretty excited about the performance of Nick Lodolo, who had come into the game 2-0, had a nice start to a season. But again, it's Nick Lodolo. And now you've lost 5 straight games, and you're in the torture chamber, and all your fans are in the torture chamber, and all your fans are turning on you. I think my main takeaway from all of this, man, is you've got, and this is what kept running through my head last night. You have a city in San Diego that is begging to love you. They are begging to love you. They're begging to support you. They're doing everything they can. And you go out last night, you throw up 1 hit. The first batter, by the way.
Yeah.
You throw up 1 hit until the 9th inning. That's embarrassing. You should be embarrassed. This team stinks. There's no other way to put it. They stink. They're not good. And everybody's pointing fingers at a bunch of different people. And there's plenty of blame to go around. But I'll tell you once again, it's not the fans' fault, because the fans are showing up on a Monday night against the Cincinnati Reds. Monday night, Cincinnati Reds. And listen, I know that the beanies are cool. You can get a beanie anywhere. Look where we live. There's beanies. You ever been to Encinitas? Just grab one from some guy off the street. I promise you he's got another one in his back pocket.
It's not even that cold here.
You can walk up to a guy in Encinitas, steal his beanie, and he'll go, son of a bitch, lost another one. Pull one out of his back pocket, put another one on. There's beanies everywhere in this town. That's not why people go to the game. That's not why. They go because they want to support a winner. They're begging to support a winner. That's it. Did you see Petco Park when they were in the playoff run? Holy smokes. Most electric atmosphere in baseball. Ask Cincinnati if they ever have that many people on a Monday night. The answer is no. Ask Tampa if they ever have that many people. Ask Detroit. Ask Kansas City. Ask anybody else of these small market teams if they ever have that many people on a Monday night. I bet you one of my children, they don't.
Even the ones that are playing well.
100%.
They don't have anywhere near what the Padres have it in their attendance.
39,158.
That is on a Monday night.
Yeah.
That is staggering. Staggering. And you go out and you drop that after just getting swept at home? I mean, holy smokes. 1 in 10 now in night games. And the one that you won was the 8-0 comeback? Without that comeback, you're 0-11 at home at night? What are we doing here, guys? Have a little bit of pride. I said it so many times in the offseason. Everybody expects this team to win about 82 games, okay? That's not a huge expectation. It's not. I'm sorry. With the payroll that we have, and I know it's limited now, 82 wins is not a huge expectation. Could they still get there? Sure. Are they making it harder on themselves every day? Yes. 82 wins was really what's expected of you. And
I'm still not going to be happy with
No,
82 wins.
I'm not either.
That's a disappointing season.
no question. But that's what everyone was kind of prognosticating. And you looked at the roster and you went, all right, yeah, I mean, things could go 5 games one way or the other, right? Your ceiling was about 87. But, man, you look at it now and go, holy cow. Like, I would be surprised with the way that they're playing right now. So it's a bummer, man. This town is begging to love you. They're begging to love you. And you just constantly let them down, and especially at their house. There's 0 home field advantage here. 0. The batter's eye was too weird last year. Well, we took that out. What is it now? You know, it's just a bummer, man. It's a bummer to watch every single night and, you know, watch guys go up there with listless, lifeless at bats, hacking at the first pitch, feeble ABs, feeble ground outs, swinging at pitches in the dirt. I mean, it was terrible. It's a terrible game. And I'll say it right now. Lay off Matt Waldron. Matt Waldron's fine. Guy makes 0 money, gave you 6 innings, gave up 4 runs. He's a 5th starter. Like, Matt Waldron's not the problem.
He did throw, I think, maybe the worst pitch of the season, though.
To
0-2 to Ellie De La Cruz. You have to bury that one inside, under his hands. The target was up and in, and he threw it as center cut as you can possibly throw it on an 0-2 pitch to one of the hottest players in baseball. It really was one of the worst misses and worst pitches for a professional pitcher.
Fair enough.
To throw that at 0-2.
That's fair.
After that,
That's
I
not
thought
why
he
we
was fine.
lost.
Gave up a couple of line drive doubles in the corner, got out of some jams, ended up pitching okay. You know, more than good enough for your number 5 starter. If you want to win those games with your number 5 starter, you got to win 6-4, 7-5. Any team has to score some runs for their 5th starter to win those games with any kind of regularity. Padres are scoring almost nothing, except for his last start in Colorado when they scored a few and he won. They're scoring nothing for Matt Waldron. You're never going to win when you don't score for your 5th starter. You can't expect your 5th starter to go out and throw zeros every time. You know why? Because then he wouldn't be your 5th starter. He'd be your 1st starter.
That's exactly right.
You can't expect Matt Waldron to be Nick Lodolo.
Right, exactly. He's got 31 innings in 6 starts, okay? Just over 5 innings a start. The one time he did not reach the 5th inning was on April 1st in his season debut. I mean, holy cow. He's only given up 4 home runs, which is like 8 fewer than Michael King and 6 fewer than Joe Musgrove. That's pretty good. And he makes a fraction of what anybody else makes. He's a rookie. I'm not going to ride Matt Waldron in here today. Matt Waldron did, his job. He gave you 6 innings. He gave up 4 runs. Threw a couple of good pitches that were hit. This isn't anybody turd polishing Matt Waldron. This is baseball. Your 5th starter goes out and gives you that last night. You got to find a way to win that game. I'm sorry. So Matt Waldron's not the problem. There are a lot of problems on this team, certainly. I hate doing foreplay right into this, but how could you not, man? The taste is it's like aspirin in your mouth. Like you just chewed up a Bayer. You ever chew aspirin? The guys in the movies do it, and I don't buy it. I don't think people actually do it. I see they take some out. Like Bruce Willis in Die Hard is like, Die Hard 2. He's so hungover, he just and
Gotta
choose
be
aspirin.
candy,
I'm
right?
like, God dang, dude. I can't even do that with regular M&Ms. Like, I got to take my time. He's taking aspirin. That's what it tastes like in your mouth when you wake up after a loss like that.
It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Bitter, acrid taste in our mouths this morning. So, yeah, we're fussy, certainly. But I think you have every right to be. It's pathetic, man. Pathetic. There's just no other way to put it. 39,000 people on a Monday night to go see the Reds. Have you watched other baseball games, Benny? You flip around. I flip around. I watch a lot of baseball. 39,000 people on a Monday night. And again, it's
How
not
many
like
teams in baseball would kill for that?
dude, it's not like the Dodgers were here, the Yankees were here, and the place was filled with, the other team's colors. That's 39,000. I'd go ahead and I feel safe saying 37,000 Padres fans were there last night. They're begging to love you. They're begging for a winner. They deserve a winner. At least give it a fight, man. At least put up a fight.
I do see the fans who say, hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't show up to the games until they start winning more. And that's the part that worries me the most, because the one thing the Padres have going for them is the fan base. You take that away, and all of a sudden now you're just getting 14,000 on a Monday night. That's when things really could get ugly. And I hope the Padres fans continue to try to support the team, because I don't think it's going to get better if you just stop coming to the games.
How can it get worse?
I don't think it's going to get better. That's for
How's
sure.
it going to get worse?
Well, then you'll have a terrible atmosphere to go along with your terrible performances on the field.
But our great atmosphere has not. There's no home field advantage to playing here. In fact, other teams look mighty comfortable here, coming in, yakking balls out of Petco Park at will, almost. I mean, the Phillies have actually considered moving their entire franchise here to just play at Petco Park. They love it here. They're massively comfortable. Whatever the batter's eye is or whatever else, they're good. They would move their franchise here to hit in Petco Park. So, tough one last night, certainly. I don't know the answer. The answer is figure it out and play better and have a little bit of pride in your city and have a little bit of pride for your fans that show up not a couple times a week, every night. And you know how many people will be there today? A buttload. A buttload of people will be filling Petco Park tonight to watch this team try to salvage one and stop this skid. So it's a really, really tough one. But mentally, I feel great. Like, I feel better this year than I have any other year. Last year, these games were sending me into a tailspin. And I'm like, no, I get to come in and talk about this team, and they need to show us something. They do. Not us, Ben and Woods, us, San Diego. That's who they need to show because they are showing up for you, man. And I'm not hearing a lot of accountability either. I'm hearing a lot of, hey, ran into a buzzsaw. Hey, let's tip our cap again. I'm so tired of aren't they tired of tipping their caps as professional hitters? Will you tip your cap 5 nights in a row? Really? Every night you're like, didn't go our way. Tip my cap. I'm over it. They have to be as over it as we are. That's where it all falls.
How many times
tip it,
can
Paulie?
you tip it? It's falling off.
The damn bill fell off. I've been tipping this cap
I have no
so
more
much.
cap to tip.
There's no more cap to tip. So win a game tonight for the love of God. End this losing streak.
Let's see another team tip their cap to you for once.
For once.
How about that?
Hey, you Darvish just shoved on us now. We got to tip our
David
cap.
Bell, we got to tip our cap to you, Darvish.
When's the last time anybody tipped their cap to us? It's been months. So we just got into it, but we'll get into way more. There's some of the uglier ABs I think I've ever seen in my life last night. Absolutely have no idea what I was watching. More mistakes, more bad pitches. But yeah, my overarching theme today is this ain't Matt Waldron's fault, for the love of God. Matt Waldron gets a 100% pass from me and probably the rest of this show as well. Guy did his job last night. Would he have liked to give up fewer runs? Yeah, of course. But if you don't score any, what does it matter? You need your fifth starter to be perfect every time out? I don't think so. So let's talk about it. We're going to open up the phones today for sure. Want to hear from you guys.
Good idea. Let's do it early. 833-288-0973. You've heard Woods' thoughts. We will continue. Coming up next, set the menu and more. 833-288-0973. Ben and Woods. Kind of on a crummy Tuesday morning here on San Diego's #1 sports station. Let's check traffic with Kelly Danick here on 97.3 The Fan. Feel like I'm sometimes counted on to be San Diego's voice of optimism. Got to say, it's a tough role this morning. Don't really have a lot of optimism from last night's game. I can offer you just a little bit of perspective.
If you say it's early, I'm going to bloody
I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say it's early.
But
I'm going to ask
already,
you a question.
Your lips already bloody.
It is bloody.
You have chat. Your lips are so severe. You look like Bob Melvin. Remember Bob Melvin in his presser, and his lips would be white, with chapped and flaky. Did you bring some chapstick? I have some in my car. Do you want me to go get it for you?
Maybe at some point.
Because his lips started bleeding.
Oh wait, here's some right here.
Oh yes, look at you. Whose is it?
Cortabomb. Got no idea. Dr. Dan's.
Well, whoever's that is, I mean,
It's gone now.
I would assume it's Craig or
Someone left it, maybe for me.
Chris.
Maybe the gods just
Literally,
left me
the
a
gods
little
just dropped you
chapstick.
some
whoever's
chapstick.
that is, that Ben's gonna rub his bloody lips all over it.
Yeah.
So the only perspective I can offer is as doom and gloom as things feel right now for the Padres. Are they doing the same thing in Phoenix right now for the Arizona Diamondbacks? They are also 4 games under 500. They have only scored over 3 runs, I think, twice in the last 2 weeks. And if it weren't for 3 games in which they scored 16, 12, and 14, they would have one of the worst offenses in baseball. They're coming off a trip to the World Series. They have invested heavily in their team. They are playing awful. Are they pretty much going, this is a horrible, horrible baseball team? Or are they okay in saying, hey, it's early,
You know what they're
things are
doing?
going to be okay? What are they saying in Arizona right now?
I'll tell
Is
you-
it really early? Are we over panicking?
No, I'll tell you exactly what they're saying. Here's what they're saying in Arizona. I can't believe the Suns just got swept. I'm excited for the Cardinals draft. I can't believe the Coyotes just left. That's what they're saying. They don't give a rat's ass about the Diamondbacks. They really don't, and they haven't until last year. We are different here. We have one baby, really. You know what I mean? One major league out of the big 4, whatever. Please don't roast me. I know MLS is coming. I know the Wave. I know the Seals. I work for the Seals. I know what you're saying. But you guys know also what I'm saying. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about, can Kyler Murray figure it out? That's what they're talking about. They'll pick up interest in the Diamondbacks after the All-Star break. San Diego is different. We were left with just this team. Hence why there's never going to be 40,000 people against the Reds in Arizona ever.
Okay, that's fair from an emotional standpoint.
How's that emotional?
Well, I'm just saying, if I look at the Diamondbacks right now as myself, I go, they'll probably be okay. You know, they ended up just fine last year. They got some good young players, Corbin Carroll. They're probably still going to end up being a winning team and make a run to the playoffs. But we don't think that about the Padres right now, even though they're both in the exact same boat at the moment.
I picked the Diamondbacks to have a fall off this year.
I did too.
So I had them. I picked them to have a little bit of a hangover. I thought the moves they made in the offseason were pretty savvy, getting Suarez and picking up some of the pitchers that they did. I really thought that they were going to take a step back, and they have. So I'm feeling pretty good about my prediction. Now, could they turn it on? Sure. Corbin Carroll has not been really the same player. He shoulder injury and is not playing up to his capabilities. You feel like if he gets going, you have a shot because he's a spark plug for that team.
The Padres have several players who haven't played up to their capabilities, and you just need 1 or 2 of them to get going, and things could feel very different. But
Chris makes a good point though here in the chat, Benny. They showed you last year that they can do it. The Padres did not show you last year that they could do it. They're not showing us so far this year. The track record does speak. I think Philly's a good example as well too. They have been traditionally the last couple of years getting off to really slow starts. People in Philly are freaking out because they're off to a fast start this year, but they will believe in that team because they believe, we've seen these guys turn it on. Have we seen, when's the last time we, the collective we here in San Diego, have seen the Padres, quote unquote, turn it on? When's the last time we turned it on? The playoffs in 22 for 2 series? Really? I mean, I'm not being a jerk. When is the last time the San Diego Padres turned it on? They put their foot on the gas and foot on the throats and just started bodying teams. 6,
I
7,
assume
8,
September
9.
didn't count last year.
No.
I don't even think it happened in 2022.
2022 was a crap year, too, until we got to the playoffs, honestly.
They had a decent end of the season run, but it wasn't like they were dominating. Went through a huge stretch of wins.
Yeah, 7 games in 22, Chris says. That's it. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think the faith is a little bit shaken, because, again, until you prove that you can do it, I can tell you guys all day I can dunk a basketball. I can dunk one. I can dunk, man. I can jam. Well, show me. I know I've just missed 17 times in a row. Until I do it, you're not going to believe me. And I can't dunk a basketball, by the way. Not even close. 8-footer, I got you. Anything other than that, I'm out. But that's the tough part, is like you have to prove it. And you have to prove it to yourselves that you can do it. You certainly haven't proved it to the fan base. And, again, I don't expect people to not show up. I don't. With the financial straits that this team is in because of the lack of TV deal, yeah, I think we should support the team. I'm going to watch and support the team. I'm going to buy merch. I like the merch. I love the team. That's how I'm going to fan. But, I mean, these season tickets are sold out, so there's going to be people in the ballpark. Why? Because they want to love you. They want to so badly. They want you to be everything that you can be, and you're not. That's where I stand.
All right, if you want to join us, 833-288-0973. Our phone lines are open. Coming up on the program today, we'll get to our Padres wrap-up, go through. We've pretty much gone through yesterday's game, but a couple more thoughts, and then we'll get right out to your phone calls this morning here on Ben and Woods. At 8:35, Jesse Agler will be with us. He always does bring another measure of perspective.
Even Jesse this year is like, I've noticed that in his last appearance. I'm interested to see how today goes. I don't think it can be super positive, and I don't think it will be.
We're also looking to forward to welcoming back AJ Cassavell to the program, back from his paternity leave, covering the Padres for MLB.com. He and Manny both becoming new fathers in the recent weeks, and we'll catch up with AJ as he's returned to the beat, covering the San Diego Padres. He's jumped right in a very tough spot, though, to cover this baseball team. So
I'm
those are the
curious to
guests.
see what his outside perspective looks like over the last few weeks, because he was still watching, still paying attention, but he wasn't necessarily
at the
in the
ballpark,
trenches.
yeah.
He wasn't in the press conferences every night.
He was in the trenches. He was just in a different type of trench.
Very true.
It's a very different type of trench. Also very challenging.
Have our regular features as well, but I want to hear from you, Padres fans. You've got the forum here this morning with Ben and Woods. 833-288-0973. Talk to you next after our Padres wrap up here on 97.3 The Fan. We are going to get out some phone calls early this morning on a Tuesday. That will be coming up. First, though, we're going to check traffic and then listen to our Padres wrap-up with Jesse Agler. And then we will take some phone calls in this segment, so don't go away. 833-288-0973. It's coming up next with Ben and Woods here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your 15-minute instant drive-thru oil change. Happy to report no incidents or accidents at this time. Start to see the usual slowing in the usual spot. Yeah, we see you westbound 52 heading out of Santee, all that company there. But yeah, at least nothing getting in your way. Valvoline Instant Oil Change is your drive-thru oil change. It only takes 15 minutes and you don't have to get out of your car. With all the rain lately, Valvoline is also offering replacement wiper blades. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com, SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's a shame if they lose.
Oh, a shame indeed.
It's a complete crap.
Oh, I did not like that.
Here are the lowlights from yesterday's game.
Are you kidding me?
Boo.
It's the Padres wrap-up, presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else.
We'll give it 16 minutes of salt, and then we'll, get back on the pump and figure it out.
It's not your fault.
The 0-2 to De La Cruz, sent in the air to deep center field. Zokar's back to watch. This one gonna go into the second deck of the bullpen to the left of center field. Well, he's fast, but he can also do that. 8th home run of the year for De La Cruz, the issue he had last year. And Profar hammers one to deep left field. Steer is back to look, gonna go. Long home run to left for Profar, and a leadoff home run. 1-1 here in the first. Infield in, Espinal swings, sends it in the air, straightaway center field, plenty deep to get the run home. Zokar back onto the edge of the warning track, he makes the catch. Martini tags and advances, the throw goes to third base, but Candelario also advances. A sacrifice fly, and the Reds are back in front, it's 2-1. Here's number 9 hitter, the catcher, Mealy, and a balk has been called on Waldron, and that's going to score a run. Candelario comes in from third base, and now 3-1 Cincinnati. Pitch is a knuckleball line fair over Machado and down the left field line into the corner. Benson will score easily. Steer is going to replace him at second base. It's an RBI double, and now a 4-1 Reds lead in the third. Here's the 2-2. Kim swings and misses at the curveball, strike 3, and the inning is over. Strikeout number 11 for Nick Lodolo, who has retired the last 16 Padres to come to bat. Pitch is lined into right field, base hit. Fernando charges it. Martini's going to be waved. Here's the throw to the plate from Tatis. The tag not in time. RBI single for Espinal. The Reds add on for the first time in a long time. It's 5-1. Pitch to Machado, swung on, hit through the right side and a base hit. Cronenworth is rounding third. Benson's throw will be cut off. RBI single Manny Machado, and it's 5-2 here in the bottom of the ninth. Thinking about a game here in June of 2021. Ha-Seong Kim, a 2-run home run in the 8th inning against the Reds. This time, though, he'll swing and miss, strike 3, and the ball game is over. Padres showed some fight in the bottom of the 9th inning, but too much quiet. Out of the bats here tonight against Lodolo and Cruz, and the Reds take game 1 of this series by a final of 5-2.
We didn't have any hits, so I'm not sure what you want me to say. I mean, clearly...
There's a lot of quick at-bats.
Yeah, I get it. I understand the question. I get it completely. It's fair. A couple things in play. Guys pretty good. Got to tip your hat. Also, you want to appreciate the fact that, he's had 2 secondary pitches, that were working, the slider, curveball, whatever he was calling it, the heater. Whether we stuck with our approach consistently enough, that's something that we'll have to look at and explore.
I think I can speak freely when I say they did not stick to their approach, especially after Lodolo walked a couple of guys. I think it was Kim and Xander. The at-bats from Eggy Rosario and Sugar were 2 of the worst I think I'd seen. Higgy's wasn't great. I mean, he ended up striking out, but actually looked like a better at bat, fouled one off at least. Took a close one outside. Those two after the guy could not find the zone. That's a tough look.
Yeah, in the first 6 at-bats of the game, the Padres had a home run, a 400-foot flyout by Manny Machado, and 2 walks.
Yeah.
So 4 of the first 6 batters looked like the Padres offense was going to be cooking against Nick Lodolo.
Yes,
now,
sir.
Whether Lodolo figured something out after those 2 walks, or I would tend to think that maybe those bad at-bats by the bottom of the order gave Nick Lodolo kind of the confidence and stabilization he needed, and he did throw well. I mean, look, he was burying that slider like Blake Snell would, back foot, and you saw how many swings and misses Blake would get on that pitch. It looked very similar. The changeup was working, as Mike Schilt said, but the Padres also looked lost.
Expanded the zone a ton last night.
Except when the ball was right down the middle, when they didn't swing. It was, if they were guessing wrong all night long. There were bad at-bats, and even Mike Schilt acknowledged that question was a fair one. There were not good at-bats by the San Diego Padres all night long. They weren't ahead of the count. They were behind in the count constantly, and you do give some credit to Nick Lodolo for throwing strikes. That's one thing the pitcher can control, getting ahead in the count, throwing some strikes, and he was doing that, and then he was finishing off the Padres, who at that point were, when they made contact, it was, as you said, feeble contact. It was, just see if you can hit a dribbler to second, because that avoided the strikeout. But most of the time, they didn't make contact at all. How many times did they strike out in the game last night? 14 times?
Yeah, 14 times total. Lodolo,
he had 11.
He struck out 11. 9 strikeouts over a 12-batter stretch. Those are the ones that really just take you out of the game entirely.
Retired his last 18 batters he faced. Padres were retired for 23 straight batters after the 2 walks to start the second inning. Yeah. 23 straight until the very late rally that didn't amount to anything in the ninth inning.
Was it Profar leading off the game? That was a knock.
That was a homer.
And then there was no other hit until Crony's hit in the ninth?
Correct.
That is quite the bookend. Quite the bookend.
And then Manny's hit, and then the error by De La Cruz on the ball that, as you tweeted, was throwing 130 miles an hour, it seemed like, from shortstop.
Easily.
I don't think anyone's ever going to catch that. Even if it was right at the first baseman.
It kind of was.
I'm diving out of the way of that ball that is thrown so hard.
Why they have not converted him into a reliever / hitter / shortstop is beyond me. I don't know that I've seen a hose or an arm like his in a long, long time. That is now he ramped up. He did not have to do that. He absolutely did not have to. Xander is hobbling down the line. He had him by 10 feet. He did not have to throw that ball that hard, but he did. And that's something that, they were talking about his defense and how it's cleaned up a little bit. But that's one, if you're David Bell, you're like, hey, bro, that let them right back in the game, brings the tying run up. He won't do it again today. But, oh, my God, having that kind of cannon, playing short, making plays like he did. He's a really exciting player who I really enjoy watching. Didn't enjoy watching him last night. Take it to our Padres, but man, what a really, really, really. That's the roughest game of the year for me. And I know the 9-4 comeback that one sucked. Last night was actually worse for me. It was terrible.
The one quirk of the game was the third run for the Reds coming in on the balk by Matt Waldron and you feel like you watch enough baseball, and both of us have watched tons of baseball. When you encounter a rule you have never heard of in baseball coming into play in such a prominent way, I was surprised because I looked at Matt Waldron's windup and I go, I can't even see anything that's even like questionable on that pitch. Why would that be a balk? He was in his windup. He didn't stop and start. He did nothing weird. He didn't break his hands apart. I could not, for the life of me, figure out why a balk would be called. And credit to Tony Gwynn Jr., who was doing the television broadcast with Don Horsillo, who nailed it correctly. He said, I believe Matt Waldron must not have informed the umpire that he was going to switch from the stretch to the windup with the runner on third base. And I had never heard that rule. I don't know if it's a new rule or something that had been changed in recent years, but Tony was aware, and he said that's the only explanation that makes sense. And after the game, Mike Schilt did acknowledge it was the right call. I don't know if Matt Waldron addressed it, whether that's something that he was unaware that he had to do. I wouldn't have been aware of it. If I had been a pitcher and there had been a runner at third and I decided to go out of the windup, I wouldn't have thought I had to tell anybody. Baseball's not usually a sport where you you have to announce things in the middle of the game while you're out on the field. You just, follow the rules and go. So I was surprised by that, but apparently it was a correct ruling of a balk on Matt Waldron, who went from the stretch and then switched to the windup after the sacrifice fly.
And then, he's got to declare once the runner gets to third, from second, third, and of course he balked him in. Right call.
I'm going to start making them do that in adult league. He didn't declare balk. I score.
I saw it in the Padres game, man.
I will say I felt really dumb for not knowing that.
I didn't know it either.
And Bo asked me, Dad, what's a balk? I go, I have no idea. And I looked at the first, and he flexed his knee weirdly. I'm like, yeah, but that's not going to deceive the runner at all. So I was trying to explain it to him from a right-hander's perspective, how you have to step off the rubber to throw to first, and you can't. And he just looked at me, eyes glazing over as he usually does. And I said, I don't know. This one in particular, I have no idea.
I do think now, though, if it ever happens again, you have to declare in Michael Scott voice.
I do declare.
I do declare I will be going from the windup.
It was very, very odd last night. And, it's been an odd season so far. More odd were some of the ABs put together.
Well, what is this contraption I do declare?
That is
my BlackBerry, Michael. I'm trying to get updates on the company.
Who's Michael? I'm Caleb Crawdad, I do declare.
You don't have to keep saying I do declare anytime you say something.
Apparently you do have to say I do declare.
That is the way Southern people talk. And what designing woman are you basing that on?
Delta Buck, I do declare.
Yeah, fantastic.
I do declare I'm pitching out of the windup with the runner at third base going forward. All right, let's go.
I do declare.
Let's go out to the phone calls. 833-288-0973. My board's not working. I believe we have Ron on the line.
Ron.
Huh? Ron, yes. Ron, welcome to Ben & Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello, Ron.
Hello, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll tell you what, I'm with you, Woods. I've figured out this year how to handle these losses a little bit better. I just turn the TV off and go to bed right around the fourth inning. I mean, you can tell right off the bat, you guys, going to go. You can kind of tell in the first couple of innings how the game is going to go. I'm extremely worried about. I think his struggles will continue throughout the year.
I lost you there.
I don't know what happened.
You're worried about
cut
who?
out. You're worried about who?
I'm worried.
He's
you guys got me?
No, it's cut down a little bit.
You guys got me now?
Now we got you.
Who are you worried about, Ron?
Yeah. I'm worried about Bogarts. I think his struggles will continue throughout the year. I don't know what happened when he came here, but it's just doesn't seem to be working out. And to Wood's point, last night when we get two guys walked and then the next three guys strike out, I don't know. I mean, before the season started, you guys, the odds makers had the Padres in fourth place at best. And I think we're a top-heavy lineup, and if those guys aren't going, then none of it's going.
Yeah, and, thank you, buddy. Appreciate the call. The Xander stuff, we talked about it this morning. I have a point. It's in my head. I don't know how to articulate it at the very best way, and I know that that's my job. And there's all this pressure to play in Boston, right? All this pressure, allegedly, to play in these other cities. And it brings out, I guess, the best in guys like Xander Bogaerts. And apparently there's no pressure here to win because we're soft and the fans are soft and they don't boo him and threaten his life, as Cameron Maben has told us. I don't know. If the pressure's off, shouldn't you be able to just relax and do what you do? And that's hit a baseball hard, not roll one over. And again, he's not the only problem. Manny's having a rough start. Fernando Tatis is hitting some barrels, but they're not falling right now. Expanded the zone a little bit last night. Didn't have the best ABs for him either. And then, we get into a point where we're blaming Eggy Rosario and Sugar and Kyle Higashioka when what's happened, and I'm going to beat it like a dead horse. I don't think it's the pressure or the lack of pressure. I don't think it's the money. I don't know exactly what it is, but
I don't think that. I know there's some fans who feel like he got his money and now he's not. He doesn't care. He doesn't work hard. From what I've seen, Xander Bogaerts is one of the harder workers on the team.
And again, he's not a guy that have there been guys that got a huge bag and completely mailed it in? Yeah, I'm sure there have been. We've seen a few of them here. But I don't get that sense with him. I don't get that sense with him at all. I see a guy that really wants to win and really is trying to win, but he's lost. I mean, he was toe tapping last week. He's leg kicking again. He's lost. He's scuffling right now. And I don't know where you put him, but it's funny. I mean, and Schilt made this point yesterday. Yeah, nobody wanted Xander lead off, and he's ended up leading off a bunch of innings now. And that's exactly what happens. And so
I don't have a problem with Xander leading off innings. The reason why I didn't want him playing leadoff
because to get more ABs
was because he shouldn't get as many at bats. So I'm fine with him coming up. He has experience doing it. I'm actually glad when he comes up to lead off the inning. He's not hitting for any extra base power. At least there's a chance he could get a single and get on base. It's not that he shouldn't be leading off innings. It's that he shouldn't be getting more at bats than anybody else on the team. Right now, the guy who should get more at bats than anyone on the team is Jurickson Profar.
Yep.
Leading the team in on base percentage. He's leading the team in average, and he's got 4 home runs, including one last night. So I'm more than fine with Jurickson continuing to hit leadoff, and Xander hitting 5th or 6th or 7th or whatever until he figures it out. I certainly hope that he does figure it out at some point. But you're right, it's lost. It's as a golfer, it's like when you get the shanks, and you don't know why. You're a decent golfer, and all of a sudden, the ball is just not coming off the club the way it used to, and you don't know why. Yep. And then eventually, you figure it out. You don't even sometimes know how you figure it out, and hopefully that comes for Xander. But he's not the player that he's been before right now. He is in a torture chamber, and he looks lost at the plate.
Yeah, there's not a lot of confidence from really any of the guys right now. And listen, 5 games in a row losing will do that to you. And Schilt addressed that last night in his postgame too, saying, we can't get down, woe is me. And, we can. That's kind of our job, and fans can, absolutely. But they're going to have to fight their way out of it. They're going to have to do it today against Nick Martinez, a guy they know and they've seen. They know what he's capable of. He's going to be probably more frustrating ABs today, I would imagine. Fastball changeup is not the ideal recipe for the San Diego Padres.
Now, when you're squeezing sawdust out of the bat already, Nick will probably use that against his old teammates.
I tweeted it last night. If I'm Nick Martinez, I'm watching these at-bats, and I'm salivating. I cannot wait to get on the mound today because you got 9 guys up and down the order, other than Profar, maybe, that look completely lost right now. So, yeah, it's it's just going to be tall order after tall order after tall order. That's playing in the big leagues. That's just what it is. And if Nick Lodolo rams it down your throat like that, Nick Martinez on the bump tonight, I don't want to be the team that has to scratch and salvage the last game of every 3-game stand, and especially at home. I think that's what chaps me the most is the home cooking for the Padres is basically S on a shingle. It's nothing good. Nothing good at all.
Now, Mike Schilt did announce that Yu Darvish will return from the injured list and make the start tonight.
Need him.
I don't know if he's going to be sharp or fresh after 2 weeks off, but they need him to be. They need someone else tipping their cap to the San Diego Padres pitcher for a great performance. Darvish, Musgrove, Cease. The next 3 days, these are the guys that you're paying the most money to anchor your starting rotation. They need someone to step up. And if it's not them, then they need Tatis and Machado and some of the offense to step up. There's a lot of high-paid players on the team. Someone has to step up and help them deliver a win. Darvish gets the chance tonight. All right, we'll continue with your phone calls. If you're online, stay there. 833-288-0973. Play a little Take on Woods as well. When we come back, Ben Woods on 97.3 The Fan on a Tuesday morning. Yeah, these home struggles are hard to fathom. Even bad teams tend to play around 500 baseball at home.
Yeah.
Padres are 6-12 at Petco Park this season. They are 1-10 in night games at Petco Park. Even with all the bad teams in baseball, you know the only team that has a worse home record than the San Diego Padres?
The White Sox.
Miami Marlins.
My beloved.
2-15. They are not playing well at home this year. That's tough to swallow, especially for home fans who are packing Petco Park. You kind of understand it in Miami. That place is usually empty. You'd understand it in Oakland. You'd understand it on the south side where fans aren't showing up. But it's hard to fathom at Petco Park where you're among the leaders in attendance, home percentage of your ballpark filled every single game, and you just have not played anywhere near good baseball.
1 in 10
at your own ballpark
is what's staggering. Most games are at night.
Yeah.
I would understand if they had a weird record with day games. Yeah, you're used to playing at night, shadows maybe,
whatever,
getting a ball lost in the sun. But to basically, with the exception of the 8-run, miraculous once every 10-year type comeback, you haven't won a game at night in your home stadium.
Yeah.
White Sox are 5-10, so same winning percentage at home, second worst in baseball, tied with the Padres.
Is that this year's can't get a 4-game winning streak, can't win a series type thing?
Yeah.
That's this year's bugaboo?
Win a night game, can't win more than 3 in a row. These are problems that have plagued this team for a couple years now.
Going to play Take on Woods in a few minutes, but if you want to call, we're taking phone calls this morning from Padres fans. 833-288-0973. Paul is on the line. Paul, welcome to Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
How you doing, guys?
Good, buddy.
Well, I've been a fan for a long time. I watched Dave Winfield throw him out from the friggin' against the wall, and the run was on third. I've been with the Padres for a long, long time, and you know what? All you can do to be a Friar faithful is just have faith that they're going to come together, because we got nothing but pros. We got the best of the best. All right, we got a manager that is an unbelievable man. He was out of the dugout so fast when he, got his ass thrown right out of the game. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah,
I love Manny. I love all these guys. You know what? You can beat it into the ground. Padre baseball has always been a slow thing. I was there at the 98 when we were rally-ragging it up,
Yeah.
And it's just Padre baseball, man. They're going to come through this. Sooner or later, they're going to come through it, or we're going to get rid of them, and we're going to get a whole new batch of players.
Paul,
I love it. Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Paul.
his optimism, but if he's been around since the beginning, he knows that that's really not true. They don't usually come out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's unfortunately the history of the San Diego Padres. I would love to see them come out of it, but his optimism, which I usually share, is certainly not based in any factual history necessarily
which is
organization.
Kind of the definition of faith.
Yeah, faith.
It's
that's
kind
faith.
of the definition of faith. And I listen. I'm hopeful. I remain hopeful. Hope it's the hope that kills you, as Ted Lasso said. One of the greatest lines and most apt lines.
I don't need to have faith or hope to know that Manny Machado is a phenomenal baseball player, or that Fernando Tatis Jr. is loaded with an unbelievable amount of talent. I also know that Joe Musgrove is a bulldog, and Yu Darvish is one of the canniest pitchers in baseball. Dylan Cease has amazing stuff. These things I know to be true. What I don't know to be true is that they're going to be able to harness it all together this year and turn it into a winning season.
Yep.
But I do know that those things are all factually correct when I say them.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily equal winning. It certainly isn't right now. And they need to turn it into some wins. Let's go to Steve. You're next up on Ben and Woods. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I too have been a lifelong Padre fan, so I'm a little confused by the guy's statements. But anyway, here's the worst thing you can do to anybody is kill their incentive, in my opinion. From guys I had guys working for me by the hour, they couldn't even pick their feet up. When I changed it to production, they turned into fast motion. It's the same thing with this Padres team. In my opinion, I hate to say it, Peter Seidler really hurts this team. You got all these guys that you gave these big contracts to, and none of them are performing. That's human nature. They got their money. They got what they needed, and they can say all they want that they care. I don't see it. I don't see that I don't think they put the same energy in today that they put in prior to trying to get these contracts. And we've seen it for almost every player on the team. They've lost their incentive.
Steve,
you know,
why
you
is
look
it
at Manny Machado?
Why is it just here though? That's the interesting part for me.
I mean, Bryce Harper got a massive deal.
Massive
Shohei
deal.
Ohtani just got huge money. Seems to be performing pretty well.
Yeah, Mookie Betts is very well paid. You know, there's
Maybe it's something about their character, right?
Yeah, the makeup.
Maybe it's something about the character on the player, because Manny Machado, let me tell you something, drives me crazy with Machado. He's there grab-assing around with every player on the other teams. And I listened to an interview with Brady, and Brady said when he went into a game, he didn't talk to the other team. He didn't talk to any players. They were the enemy. He was going to, after the game, maybe he would do it, but not during the game. And I see Manny smiling and laughing with the other players all the time. Listen, man, you guys played sports. I played. When I played against another team, I wasn't friends with them while I was playing.
Well, and
if you've got any competitiveness
with it, for sure, and listen, that's certainly an opinion. I get the incredible boomer. It comes out of me too. It's when Mookie Betts slides in third, Manny picks him up, gives him a hug. We're always going to hate them more than the players do. They are one big fraternity after all, for real. It's something I've learned doing this for 6 years that I guess I didn't really know. I really didn't realize they're all one big happy family. Honestly, there may be a couple of outliers of guys that hate each other, but for the most part, they're competing on the field. But when it's over, they'll go fishing, they'll go hunting, they'll work out together. You can love it, you can hate it. Football's a little different. You got one game a week. You will go absolutely out of your mind, I think, Steve, for 162 games of playing like that. When you see guys, I saw somebody tweeting last night, Sugar and Profar screwing around in the outfield last night, laughing, throwing the ball at each other. You almost have to have it. For 162, it's such a grind. You cannot be teeth gritted, squeezing the bat so hard for 162. You will burn out. And there have been so many players that burned out over the years playing that way. Kevin Youkilis, I've told this story a million times. One of those guys, Red Sox would be up 9-1. And he would hit a weak ground out. He'd come back. He'd throw his helmet, slam his bat. Finally, Manny and Ortiz went to him and go, hey, enough. We get it. You're a gamer. Shut up. Stop. You're driving us crazy. We have a lead or we're down 9. Like, relax. It's a long season. So I take your point. I do. I will be honest. It does drive me nuts sometimes too. But it is what it is. This is who they are.
Well, it's apples and oranges, I think, comparing sports for the reasons you just mentioned. I think it's also unfair to evoke the Tom Brady comparison, the Michael Jordan,
the unicorns,
the Kobe Bryant.
Yeah,
yes,
the unicorns.
Would you want 26 guys on your team that have the Mamba mentality? Of course, those guys are once in a generation.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody can't be like that.
Yeah.
If it was so easy, everybody would do it.
By the way, there are plenty of great baseball players who chat up. Freddie Freeman chats up guys at first base. Mookie chats up
Mike
other
Trout.
teams' players all the time. They're friendly. They don't hate everybody on the other team.
It's just an eyewash thing.
They're still good players.
Yeah, it's just an eyewash thing, and I get it. Listen, man, he lives in me too, and I try to suppress him. You know that I have the incredible boomer from time to time.
All right, if you're on hold, we're going to get to more phone calls right now, though, at 7:09. Let's get the Incredible Boomer has come out on our YouTube stream. I love that. When we come, we're going to have a little Take on Woods action right now, though. All right, Chad's going to be our contestant in Take on Woods, which is brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes, and you don't have to get out of your car for directions and discounts. Go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. Chad, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
All right, last week here of April, last day of April, in fact. Let's see if we can get you qualified for the trip for two to the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. 2 tickets to Cool and the Gang, their residency through 2024. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. Here are your categories. We still have SEX, 5 song titles that begin with the word sex. We have On the Money, 5 song titles and artists with the word money somewhere in the answer. And our new category, Song and Dance, from the 80s. It's an all 2-second song category featuring songs from the 1980s, including the word dance in the title. So, SEX, On the Money, or Song and Dance. Chad, what would you like to play?
Let's do the first one. SEX, please.
Okay. We're going to get a little sexy this morning.
Boy.
We have 5 song titles and artists, and they all begin with the word sex. You'll have 60 seconds to answer as many of the 5 as you can. Pass if you don't know an answer. Woods will then come back and we'll compare your scores. If you beat or tie, and we'll put you into the drawing for Vegas. First question's a 2-second song. You need to identify the title of the song and the artist to score that point. Chad, are you ready to go?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock. The category is SEX. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Chad. Let's take on Woods.
Hanging around downtown by myself.
That's Sex and Candy by Marcy Playground.
Correct. The vocalist for which English punk band was born John Lydon, but is better known as Johnny Rotten.
That's Sex Pistols.
Correct. Which 1993 debut single by Stone Temple Pilots begins with the line, I am, I am, I am.
So come back to it.
Which 2008 song earned Kings of Leon their first Grammy nomination and hit #1 in 4 countries, including the UK?
Sex on Fire.
Correct. Vice ranked which empowering Rihanna bonus track at #2 in their top 100 songs of the year 2016?
Can you repeat that?
Vice ranked which empowering Rihanna bonus track as #2 in their top 100 songs of the year 2016?
Sex Fire.
Incorrect. Which 1993 debut single by Stone Temple Pilots begins with the line, I am, I am, I am? All right, you got 3. You got Sex and Candy, Sex Pistols, and Sex on Fire. Stone Temple Pilots is Sex Type Thing, and Rihanna is Sex with Me. So that's 3. Let's bring Woods back in. Give him the same 5 questions. Hang on the line there, Chad. Well done. Good effort today. Yeah.
Come on in.
You're good. You're good to go.
I thought I saw a little hand.
Chad's score is locked in.
Chad? All right.
Yep. Woods does not get the category. 60 seconds back on the clock. Woods, your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck. Let's take on Chad.
Hanging around
Sex and Candy, Marcy Playground.
Correct. The vocalist for which English punk band was born John Lydon, but is better known as Johnny Rotten.
The Sex Pistols.
Correct. Which 1993 debut single by Stone Temple Pilots begins...
Sex Type Thing.
Correct. Which 2008 song earned Kings of Leon their first...
Sex on Fire.
Correct. Vice ranked which empowering Rihanna bonus track at #2 in their top 100 songs of the year 2016?
Sexy Taint.
Sex with Me is that one, but a 4-3 win for Woods today.
Save him saying that.
I said it many times already.
Oh, good. All right. What are you, pervert? What was your category?
SEX.
That's the name of it? SEX.
That's the name of the category. All right. All answers.
Did I win?
Yes, you did. 4-3.
Okay,
Chad, thank you for playing. Not good enough today against our reigning champion. SEX. Stephen Woods. Sex. I don't know. Do you want to do Don't Do This? Or you want to keep taking some phone calls? It's up to you.
Padres game is kind of a don't do this.
That's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked it. I need a moment to ponder.
All right,
I really
we will
don't
ponder.
know.
We will ponder the Don't Do This question of the day, and we will come back. So stay on the line if you're there. 833-288-0973. More Ben and Woods coming up after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. We have our own Don't Do This to worry about this morning without delving into the rest of the world of sports and beyond. Don't Do This is brought to you by the Craft Taco in Sorrento Valley. Craft Taco makes everything better. Has some of the best quality tacos in all of San Diego. Go to thecrafttaco.com. Take a look at their happy hour specials today, thecrafttaco.com. We're going to take a couple more phone calls here. 833-288-0973. Alec has been hanging on the line. Alec, we appreciate your patience. Welcome to Ben and Woods this morning on 97.3 The Fan.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning, buddy.
I got two things to say. The first one I want to talk about, the lineup card. You really can't complain about Machado, Tatis, Sander. They're here. They're going to be here.
Yep.
If you're faithful, you just got to keep the faith. They're going to be here for a long time. You guys have been saying it. So just keep the faith with those guys. They're going to figure it out. They're studs. They're vets. We signed them for a reason.
Okay.
But what I will say is that you can't have a stretch of the lineup that's Egi, Azukar, and Kyle Higashioka. I saw that when the lineup card came out yesterday. I was at the gym with my bud, and I said, I can't wait for there to be a big moment and some combination of this comes up. And sure enough, it happened.
Yep.
So, I don't know if Merrill needed a day off. That's what I thought maybe initially. But Campy could have been DHing, and then Merrill came out to pinch hit, so obviously he could run. It wasn't something lingering from his recent IL stint. And, that was the first thing I wanted to say, so I'll hear your guys' opinion on that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I had a lot of people tweeting about that last night to me, and we said it on the show yesterday. I said the risk is very much worth the reward of putting Campy in the DH spot, in my opinion. Again, these are our opinions. Take them for what they're worth. Campy in the DH spot, and if you have to pinch hit for your hitter later, that's where an Egi Rosario comes in. Yeah, that's where an Egi Rosario comes in, or a Tyler Wade, or one of your vaunted bench pieces. You have three essentially you have three bench players in your 7, 8, 9 last night. Now I understand the Kyle Higashioka is going to catch the knuckleball. I get it totally. That being said, I'm going to run that risk out there. Campy swinging a little bit more better of a hot bat. You got a lefty on the bump. Seemed like a no-brainer. Then again, I don't know what their plans are. They do have plans. They do like to stick to their plans about getting guys rest. Campy's going to be catching a lot of games. It's tough when your best DH is your other catcher.
Yeah,
it's a tough look.
It's certainly, from a baseball standpoint, very defensible what Mike Schilt did.
Yeah, well, he can explain
night.
it away.
Jackson Merrill, who does still have the nagging injury, if you're going to give him a day off, give him another day off against a tough lefty, which makes some sense. Egi, as a DH, has fared very well against left-handers. As a right-handed hitter, he has actually done
a DH,
just as a batter. As a batter, he hits left-handed pitchers very well. And then Higashioka, you mentioned, has been kind of Waldron's personal catcher. And
No. That's not right. He's not a personal catcher.
Well, he has been this year.
He's not a personal catcher. He's the only guy that can catch the knuckleball. Right. So, who's the guy who had his personal catcher here?
Caratini.
It was Caratini and you, right? Yeah. That's a personal catcher.
Knuckleball
catcher is a completely different animal.
I mean,
if
most
Campy
teams
can't
don't
catch
have multiple knuckleballers.
Right.
Higashioka can't catch it sometimes.
Correct.
It's just uncatchable at times.
Tough.
They think maybe Higashioka has a better chance. And he even had a catcher's interference last night, which is what you're trying to avoid with the knuckleball. Let it come to you and still try to catch it.
Which I also 100% get. Do we not understand 100% getting a catcher's interference when the guy's throwing the knuckleball like that?
I do.
Yeah. It sucks.
Tough to hold it against him.
We did talk about it yesterday, though, that it seems like keeping Campy's bat out of the lineup 2 days in a row is a long time to go for a guy who's been one of your better hitters all season. And while he did slump about a week ago, he's kind of coming out of it again. And you would like to see him in there some way, even against a left-handed pitcher. Yeah, especially.
Yep. No, I think it's a fair criticism, certainly. And listen, I'd be lying if I didn't say the exact same thing.
We also don't know every detail.
Correct.
Of who is feeling good and who is not feeling good.
And with Merrill, again, 1 AB is certainly different than playing center field and getting 4 ABs. So if it's nagging, you don't want the groin. The groin is like the worst, man. It just nags and nags and nags, and you take away a lot of that kid's game. Do I expect him to be? If he's not in the lineup today, then I fear that there, maybe something wrong with him that's going to need a little bit of time. Which is, hey man, if that happens, like we've said all year, this team is one injury away from being in the crapper. I mean, if you don't consider 5 straight losses in the crapper already, you're chilling right now in the bowl. So they're an injury away from really not looking great. And it's crazy to think rookie making his first 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks in the big leagues makes that big of a difference. But when you see his bat to ball skills and you see what he does and how he's played and how he plays center field, you lose him and Sugar's your everyday center fielder. Whew. Lean. It's lean times.
I mean, there will be some injuries over the course of the season. No team ever gets through a year without them. Padres have already had one of their pitchers go on the injured list. Fortunately, it was for the minimum, 15 days, and he's going to be back tonight. Consider yourself lucky that Yu Darvish hasn't been out longer, and they haven't really had to deal with other injuries. But there will be more as the year goes on. Let's go to Alan in Point Loma. One more before the bottom of the hour. Good morning, Alan. You're on 97.3 The Fan.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, buddy.
Everything you guys and what people call in, I think is right. I've been a Padre fan since 1953. That's when they were in the PCL. And I'd listen to Al Schuss on my little crystal radio and fall asleep. And we've had one nagging problem ever since we became a major league team, and that's hitting with guys in scoring position. It's not this year, not just last year. It's been year after year, with the exception of 2 years, and I tell you, it's plaguing us again. And there's something in San Diego. I don't know what it's in the air, or it's the burritos, or what. But we have this serious problem, and it's not really addressed. And last night I started looking at things more analytically, and I saw our hitters taking pitches and swinging at pitches that were balls. They cannot do that in this day and age against these other teams that are really good, with pitchers that are really good, and they're pitching on the edge. You notice how many pitches now, these pitchers that we're against, that pitch on the edge, down and out on that corner, on the right edge, inside edge, outside edge, top right hand. They're really getting good. They're better than they were before.
Oh yeah.
And we need to step up and address this as a team. The other thing is our pitchers. I think they lose some focus. How many home runs? You said this the other day, Ben. You were really good. We have way too many home runs being hit against our pitchers. Way too many. That one game, 5 home runs. That's ridiculous. So we have to address that problem too. And I think they lose focus because they'll throw one right down the middle. I've only seen one home run hit in the last couple of weeks where a batter hit a tremendous hit because it was a great pitch and he hit a home run off it. All the rest of them are in the hitting zone that you'd like batting practice pitches.
Yeah, too many mistakes. I agree with you by the starting pitchers. I thought the one by Waldron yesterday was a horrific pitch to Ellie De La Cruz. He was up 0-2.
What was it?
Cutter, I think.
Cutter.
Yeah, it was supposed to be inside, supposed to be up and in, and I mean, when they showed the box with the 9 little boxes, it was in the center of the middle box.
Center cut.
You cannot throw that pitch. After that, I thought Waldron was okay. When it comes to striking out too often, it always looks ugly. Last night was by far the worst game of the season for the Padres when it came to swings and misses. But if you go analytically, they don't strike out. They're actually in the bottom half of the league in strikeouts. Other teams strike out more than the San Diego Padres. They tend to have decent plate discipline. Yesterday,
the exception
was an exception,
yep.
And that the other starting pitcher is trying to throw pitches that look tantalizing to make you swing, and when they're not really good pitches. That's the art of pitching that they're trying to do. And last night, the combination of the Padres' bad at-bats and Nick Lodolo's pitches were really, really ugly. If I were looking to solve problems, though, that's not where I start with the San Diego Padres. Swinging at bad pitches is not my first issue that they have. It really is, you're not getting extra base power from some of your stars, like Xander Bogaerts specifically. You need more OPS from guys like that, is where I look offensively. And, pitching-wise, I think he is right, though. The giving up of too many home runs, you just cut that number down by 20, 30%, and all of a sudden you're in a lot of more games just because you're keeping the ball in the yard with the exact same pitching everywhere else.
Yeah, we're in a death spiral right now, 5 straight. So that's you gotta find a way to win tonight against Nick Martinez. I got to go look at his numbers. I haven't seen how he's done this year. But Nick was really solid here. So they know what they're getting. A steady diet of fastballs and a really good changeup. And should be no mystery tonight for the San Diego
I
Padres.
need to smile this morning. It's been a rough first 90 minutes.
Yeah, been a rough one.
We do have some audio from last night from Padres manager Mike Schilt that I hope will at least make everybody smile a little bit.
I think that's interesting timing.
Is it bad
It
timing?
might.
I need to switch it around a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to that when we come back with Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Since we really didn't get a don't do this, did you see the note on the Petco Park scoreboard yesterday for Ha-Sung Kim? Said, and I hadn't seen this one before, said Ha-Sung Kim doesn't really enjoy eating bread.
That's the note?
That was the note when he came up to the plate. Yeah. Came up to the plate. Ha-Sung Kim doesn't really enjoy eating bread.
Okay.
And I thought to myself,
must be nice.
Maybe that's a cultural thing.
Maybe.
Is that is that common in Korea that they just don't eat a lot of bread, sandwiches? I don't really know, but I can't imagine living a life in
Comes
which
over
I
here. He's like, "What is it with you people and bread?"
didn't enjoy eating bread.
I
enjoy eating
bread. In every way that you can present it. I'll eat a bread stick.
I wish I didn't enjoy eating bread so much.
I'll do a bread stick. I'll do a crust of some kind. I'll do a sandwich. I'll do a hoagie roll. I'll do a rye. I won't do rye toast. I don't like that.
Matthew in the chat says bread is overrated.
It's like the least overrated thing ever. It's phenomenal.
I'll
Now,
ban him from the
bad bread is terrible. Bad bread is like if you get a sandwich and it's on bad bread, it ruins your entire day. But if it's good bread, it makes the sandwich.
Fair, but you can take bad bread and turn it into like French toast. There's always a use for everything.
There's always a use. You're right.
It's tough because I like a good toasted sandwich, but I don't like it when the bread gets so crunchy that it just kind of crumbles everywhere with every bite.
That's bad bread. You get a sandwich at like a deli or something, and you bite into it, and it crumbles. You're like, son of a
huge
bitch.
mess everywhere.
I should have gotten a roll of some sort. Sometimes the bread can be too hard. Like I like Bodines. My wife loves Bodines. Oh my god,
the sourdough.
Yeah, but sometimes when you bite into a Bodine sandwich, you're like, yeah. You gotta pull it apart. Rip it off, and feel like you're going to lose a molar.
Is there anything better than those warm rolls they bring to the table with the butter?
There's not.
Honestly, I could skip the rest of dinner and just keep bringing me the rolls all night.
I still won't eat a heel. Will not do it.
No.
No. I don't even pack my kids' lunches. I'll be honest. Shouldn't waste food. I get it. You can stone me in the town square. I throw the heels away. I'm not eating them. I'm not going to subject my kids to eating them either.
If you flip them upside
I'm not
down,
going to. So quit asking.
I don't think you really even notice.
No, you notice.
You think so?
1,000%. I will not eat it. I wouldn't eat if I was starving.
Ha-Sung Kim really won't eat it at all?
At all. None of it.
Guess that's how he stays in good shape, unlike the rest of us.
That is an interesting note.
That was a fun fact.
Guy blasts cigs, but he will not.
Did you address that last week?
We played it.
You did?
We had the Hosmer conversation when you were gone, and we did say, this is a pretty funny story. We played it.
I mean, that is very cultural.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yep.
All right, let's check traffic. We'll come back. We have Mike Schilt, some new audio in this morning when we come back on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Well, folks seem to be doing a pretty good job of staying out of trouble on our roads this morning. The westbound side of the 8 before Waring Road, we have reports of a stalled car in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Now, this was before the game when the moods were, maybe a little bit lighter before.
A little hopeful.
Everything that transpired last night and the 14 strikeout performance against the Cincinnati Reds. But we have played many times on this program Mike Schiltz, and this was from spring training, I believe, amusing himself during a press conference, a scrum, as it were.
Priceless.
And, that's fine. Everybody has their own unique laugh. I don't know. Do you like the way you laugh, Woods?
I don't really think about it.
Are you self-conscious about it? Some people are self-conscious about the way they laugh. You really shouldn't be.
No.
It's okay.
Let it flow.
However you laugh, you laugh. And Mike Schiltz got a kind of a funny But we got a whole different version yesterday during his pregame scrum with Padres media. Here's Mike Schilt.
He was asked about the leadoff spot, profile in the leadoff role.
You answered a little bit yesterday, but what do you like about Pro in the leadoff spot and kind of what he's been able to do this?
I thought about it again because I do reflect on some of the answers I give you and some of the questions. And I thought, you know what, great question. And just in simple terms, when a guy's taking good at bats, regardless of where you put him, then you can put him in the leadoff. But ultimately, a lineup's about a lineup full of guys taking good at bats. And so it shouldn't matter as much where they go. For example, yesterday, Bogey wasn't leading off, but led off 2 innings. There's your lineup. But I get the fact it turns over, so I'm not naive to that, clearly. But I like the fact that he's left right-handed, taking good at-bats regardless, working walks, getting big hits. But it's really just about guys taking good at-bats.
That was a whole different kind of
Well,
laugh.
you're listening to a man's descent into madness. That's what you're listening to, as he's now the Padres skipper. And listen,
Off 2 innings.
I see. Yeah, that's it's standard. By the end of the season, it'll be like he's going to lose it. It's a frustrating team to manage. It's a frustrating team to be a fan of. The blame that goes around for the skipper last year, for the skipper this year, it is what it is. You can blame the manager all you want. Guys got to perform. The thing that gets lost in translation, I think, a lot is, and I've talked to big league skippers about it. It's not college, and it's not the minors. The minor leagues is where you'll have a guy that really gets chippy with his players. He's a teacher. He's coaching them up. Once you're a professional, it's not his job to motivate you. You have to find your own motivation, whatever it may be. Maybe you're just playing for a bag. Maybe you're playing for the city. Maybe you're playing for your dead father. Whatever it is, there's something that motivates these players. A skipper walking in every day. All right, guys, gather around. Here we go. Okay, we got a tough righty on the mound tonight. Ben, I need you to step up. Paulie, I need you to step up. It just doesn't happen. Not at this level.
I do think Mike Schilt's facing his first test
100%.
right now as manager of the San Diego Padres. So far, I think he's acquitted himself pretty well, especially through spring training. You can argue that maybe he was a little slow on the trigger and moving Xander down in the order, but otherwise, I think he's had a good touch on everything, and players have responded to him well. But it's different when you're in spring training. It's different when the team is playing all right. You had a couple of good wins early in the season. Things were going
tough ones that you came back and won.
Yeah, things were going, if not great, they were certainly going fine. Now they are not.
They're not.
And now you are facing your first test as manager of the Padres. How do you
first of many?
How do you
strap in,
pull this team out of the tailspin that they're currently in?
It's the worst answer, and no one's going to want to hear it.
Because the only thing worse than a 3-game losing streak is a 4, and the only thing worse than a 4-game losing streak is a 5-game losing streak, and the only thing worse than a 5-game losing streak is a 6-game losing streak. Every single day that passes, the red line, you keep pushing to it, and eventually your engine's going to completely bust down, because if you lose too many games in a row, there really is no coming back from it. There's still there's plenty of time to come back from this, but the more you lose, the harder it gets to come back from that hole that you were digging yourself. And how do you nip it in the bud? How do you stop it right here, right now, and turn this just into a blip rather than a defining moment of the 2024 season?
I mean, you don't. I don't want to say there's nothing you can do, but I feel like the role of a big league manager right now is really just to manage psyches. And of course, he's got his in-game management, and he needs to be sharp with his bullpen moves and be confident and have data to back up those moves. But he's a personality manager at this point. He's got to make sure that Xander Bogaerts, his head's right. More so. Mike Schilt's not going to get into the cage, I would imagine, and say, all right, here's what you're doing. You're dropping your hands. Whatever. That's what the hitting coach is there for. That's what the data is there to show. Mike Schilt and Skip Schumacher and Dave Roberts and everybody else in the big leagues, for the most part, I will say, guy like Mark Kotze, who's got a young team, there's still a little teaching, I think, that goes on. Guy like Ron Washington, he does a lot of teaching, but I think for the most part, you are managing personalities. You're managing the players' psyches right now and making sure that they're up and ready to go for tonight's game. Now, I don't know what that entails at the big league level, but what it doesn't entail, I would imagine, is going in and flipping over a table. I think there's a time for that. I don't think it's quite happened yet.
Well, I think what is sometimes failed to be recognized is that some players may need a kick in the butt. Other players may need a pat on the back. Some may need a hug. Some may need some words of confidence and encouragement. Just because a team is struggling doesn't mean, well, all 26 players, they don't have a fire in their belly. Some may need like, hey, let's get motivated, but others may be pressing too hard. They may need to relax. You may need to take some pressure off some guys. You may need to reinstill confidence into a guy who hadn't been playing well and you remind him why they're in the big leagues and why they're good players. That's the real job of a manager. It's looking at each player and trying to assess what is it that I can do to get the most out of that individual. And you can give all the fiery speeches you want, but I'm sure half of your team, they don't need a fiery speech. They're probably going, yeah, some of my teammates need this, but I need something else entirely.
It's a pretty thankless gig, and again, it's 26 different personalities you have to manage on a daily basis. It's not easy. Anybody that's ever been a manager knows. Most people I've ever managed at one time was 4, and it was really difficult because they were all 4 completely different people, and it's not an easy thing to do, and especially when you're talking about trying to get people at ultimate performance every single day for 162 games. Look, man, Connie Mack may not turn this team into a winner. You know what I mean? It for me, it doesn't really fall on the manager. It just doesn't. For me, it falls on the players, specifically the players who make the most money. That's what it falls on for me. That's kind of how I'm always going to be. You get paid the most, you're expected to produce the most.
It's tough. I'm a little conflicted. I mean, we played the clip earlier in the show. Schilt gave us another, got to tip your cap. And I know a lot of fans out there.
I hate that.
They're
Sick I love Schilt, and I hate that.
And we've also talked about how Schilt's not that guy that's going to come in, at least right now, and throw any of his players under the bus. And I totally understand that. So I'm sitting here and I hear these post-game press conferences after loss after loss after loss, and tip your hat to guys half the fan base has never even heard of before last night. And I'm like, I don't know what I want to hear from the manager after a game like that, but I know it's not, you got to tip your cap.
Yeah, and again, I say that with all the respect in the world for Mike Schilt and his journey to becoming a big league manager, certainly.
Tip your cap is they battled, that's baseball.
It's the same.
Hey, we just haven't played our best baseball yet, you name it. It's just the same phrase, it's different words, but the same meaning.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what I would have rather heard, because I already know he's not going to come in and just be like, yeah, it's unacceptable, start calling guys out by name. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either.
It may make you feel better as a fan if he did that, but I guarantee you it would make things worse in the clubhouse.
100%.
If the manager starts pointing fingers at his own players, it's done. It's over.
Happens here every year. I think about it a lot when they talk about, and Crony told us Friday, and we heard about it in spring training, and no, we're all pulling on the same end of the rope. Okay, fine. It feels like you're pulling an anchor into the water, though, at this point. I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I am glad that you guys are playing together and enjoying each other's time and company, and maybe it's a little bit better of a vibe than it was last year, but, to lose 5 straight feels a little bit dire. And really, you're filled with a lot of hope that Yu Darvish will come back healthy tonight. You're filled with a lot of hope that Joe Musgrove can regain what he was at the end of last year and what he's been since he's been a San Diego Padre. It's just a lot of hope right now. And I think Mike Schilt's in the exact same boat as all of us. He's hoping. He's hoping Yu shoves tonight. He's hoping Joe shoves the next night. He's hoping Dylan shoves. I mean, it's just hope. That's all it is. He's not going to go out there and, Joe, here's what you're doing on your slider. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, that's not what they do. He's not going to go in there and get in Yu's face tonight and light him up. You better pitch your ass off. It's not going to happen. It's not.
As would any other big league manager.
Correct.
They'd all start Yu Darvish tonight.
Correct.
And they hope
for the best.
They trust that Yu Darvish will hopefully have his, a veteran Yu Darvish-like performance.
Yep.
It's all you can really do as a big league skipper is put your guys out there in the best position that you can to help them succeed.
But Paulie's absolutely right. I mean, I couldn't believe that we got to tip the cap last night. I think if I'm the skipper and if I'm a fan and if I'm a player, I'm so tired of tipping my cap. I really am. It's 5 straight games where you've tipped your cap and said, well, those guys are big leaguers too. I mean, I get it, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that.
Every pitcher in the big leagues is a good pitcher.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
They wouldn't be there if they weren't good pitchers.
For sure.
And, you go up against Ohtani, who's just on a run where he's going 8 innings or something. Like, that's a guy you tip your cap to.
Yeah.
Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, these guys that we've seen over the years. Those are the guys you tip your cap
Tyler
to.
Glasnows and all that. Yeah, I mean, give me some good ABs, fight,
Nick
battle
Lodolo,
up there.
that's when you say we we got to reevaluate because we need to jump on a guy like that.
No doubt.
I
mean, he looked like Randy freaking Johnson.
He was throwing hard with a lot of break.
He's throwing 94 miles an hour. He had a lot of break.
He had a lot of break.
Everybody in the league throws 94 miles an hour and has break.
Welcome to the big leagues. That's
you can't hit that. What are you doing here?
That's what you get every night. Swinging at balls out of the zone and bad ABs and just feeble ground outs, and it was tough. Last night was a tough one. Probably my least favorite. My favorite loss of the year. My least favorite loss of the year. That one was a really tough.
The
one.
loss to the Rockies
sucked,
painful.
but it was also
they played well for 7.5 innings of that game.
Scored 9 runs
and put themselves in position for an easy win. And it was ripped away and it was horrible. That game yesterday, they just never put themselves in a position to do anything. We had a caller who talked about hitting with runners in scoring position has been a problem. Well, you got to get some runners on base to have a problem with hitting in runners in scoring position. They could only do that in 2 innings in the entire game yesterday.
Maybe it just made sense to me. I need money in the chat. Says, imagine starting the game 2 to 4 runs down before you take an AB. It's got to be pretty draining. Maybe that's why they're so bad at home.
Even Mike Schilt laughed about it. He goes, I guess the new ground rules in baseball are we just start down 1-0 every game.
Well, and maybe that's why they're so bad at home, because their starting pitchers are allowing first inning runs damn near every night out. And they have to climb out of a hole. So you go on the road, you hit first, you score. I love it.
That's the best theory I've heard so far.
That probably is what makes the most sense. I mean, you're down 2-3 runs every friggin' time before you come.
Starting pitching has struggled.
Yep.
At home, the starting pitchers have to go out there first. You're putting yourself in a bad spot.
So Robert Suarez going to open the game.
Fine. Do something.
Try an
Do
opener.
Anything different, man.
We are halfway home here on a spicy Tuesday here on Ben and Woods. Come back. We've got Jesse Agler, AJ Cassavell still to come. All in the second half of the program this morning on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right back.
Halfway home on a Tuesday, Ben and Woods 97.3. The Fan, great to be here with you this morning. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Rindle, the executive producer. Benjamin Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, joins us as well. And, just kind of talking through it. That's what we do here on the Ben and Woods program. We've done that a long time, and have opened the phones and things like that. Just kind of talking through it ourselves. We don't know the answers, certainly. We don't know any more than you guys. I like to talk through it. I'm a big fan of talking through things. And I'm also a big fan. I was thinking about this last night. I'm really trying to get away from looking in the past in everything, for every aspect of my life, right? There's nothing I can do about my past. There's nothing you can do about yours, Ben, and as clean as it may be. Paulie, same thing. Can't do anything about it. To harp on I'm a solution-based person. I really am. I think, my wife gets mad at me sometimes for that. Okay, great. How do we fix it? When instead, sometimes you just want to hear, you just need to be allowed to vent. I'm a solution-based person. So I can't do anything about long contracts that were handed out. Nothing. I can do nothing. Nobody can. Can't do anything about them, right? Especially us as fans. I mean, we are powerless. Should we have made some of the deals we've made? No, we shouldn't. How do we move forward? I'm a big fan of the moving forward. How do we move forward? If you're going to spin out about every bad deal you made or every bad trade, this isn't the right sport for you. I don't think it's too long. It's too arduous. There's too many games. It doesn't make you, it's not some insightful thing to say, we shouldn't have signed this guy for this much. You're right. You're absolutely right. How do we move forward? What's the best path forward here? That's kind of where my head has been all season long. I can't get bogged down, Ben, in things I can't change and things I can't control and deals that shouldn't have been done. They're done. You got to live with it at this point. But, I think it is a fair question to ask about AJ Preller. If he had the crystal ball and could have gone back and undone some of these deals, he would have, straight up. No question.
Of course. Look how well C.J. Abrams and Mackenzie Gore are performing right now for the Washington Nationals. And ultimately, you didn't get where you wanted to get with Juan Soto. Sure, there's a lot of deals you'd like to undo if you could. I do think there is a psychological reason, though, why, as fans, things feel especially bleak right now. And I was just looking at the stat from the UT this morning. The Padres have trailed in these 5 games. They've trailed at the end of 35 of the last 38 innings, and they've only led after 1 inning. That would be Sunday when Jake hit the 2-run home run to take a 3-2 lead, and that was the end of the 3rd inning, I believe. And then in the top of the 4th inning, the Phillies went right back ahead. So in terms of minutes that the Padres have been ahead or even tied because they've given up the lead in the 1st inning so many times in this 5-game losing streak, they have constantly been behind. That wears down on you. Certainly as a fan, I think it wears down players as well to constantly be in a hole that you're trying to dig out of. Conversely, I will use basketball, Ben, here as a quick example. Lakers were eliminated last night by the Denver Nuggets. Fantastic game. Really great series. But ultimately, kind of got bodied. Gentleman's sweep, as we call it, the 4 games to 1. They got the 1 game at home. But the Lakers led throughout that series. They were up 140 minutes. The Nuggets only led about 50 minutes of the series. The Lakers were constantly in every game, up every game. Yeah, it was frustrating that they lost, but it felt competitive because they were up, they were around. I don't know that it's better or worse. Is it better to be leading a bunch and then all of a sudden have it ripped away from you at the end?
Those are tough.
Those are tough too, like the Padres did in Colorado to start this losing streak. But to never be ahead, to be behind constantly, I think that's even more difficult. It feels more bleak. And these last 4 games in particular, Padres have never even had a thought here's a lead we can hold on to. I mean, for 5 minutes maybe on Sunday, that there's we got a lead to protect. Oh, it's gone. And once again, you're behind and you're trailing and you're constantly trying to chase the other team. Constantly trying to chase the other team. It's not a recipe for any sort of success, especially in baseball.
No, and I mean, hell, even getting down 1-0 last night, you're like, oh boy, here we go again. Pro ties it up, and you're like, okay, now I like that, man. First batter says, no, not tonight, not in our house. And then you saw how it's.
That was one of the 3 innings that they weren't trailing at the end of because it was 1-1 at the end of 1.
Yeah.
In the last 4 games.
Yeah, there's. I wish I had answers for you guys. I wish I did. I wish I had one magic pill I could give everyone to take it, and it would be okay. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So,
so far, your theory is still the best thing I've heard.
Well, and again,
batting second.
You look at the record at home, and it is a bit disheartening to have to come back every single night, and puts a little seed of doubt in your head of like, oh boy, here we go again. I'm gonna have to string something together. You get a chance to hit first, you score 2 or 3 runs, you feel all right, good, we got this thing in hand. Yeah, they're gonna get last ups, but we're gonna continue to build, and it's the only explanation I can think of for why they play so poorly at home is because they're behind early all the time at home. That's really the only explanation I can think of. But I lament, some of the deals that AJ Preller has done. He laments some of the deals that he has done. You're not going to find one GM that doesn't. But how much pressure do you think he's feeling right now, Ben? A pretty immense amount.
I mean, I'm sure, as a fan, he would like to see them do better. But in terms of pressure, I don't know that there's much that he can do at this point.
No. I mean, to keep his job.
Pressure to win.
Job
security.
Job security.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel pressure when there's just literally almost nothing you can do about it? Is that pressure or is that just stress? He's probably stressed, but he doesn't have to come through. He's not the guy who's up at the plate. He's not the guy throwing pitches.
But the buck stops with him. This is his team.
I'm not saying he won't be evaluated on it, but he should have felt pressure this last offseason to put a good team together. Now, there's no more pressure. There's no more pressure.
Got to run with what you got.
You just run with what you got at this point, and you sink or swim. But there's no pressure on AJ Preller to do something because there's nothing that can really be done.
Right. Outside of,
bring up a Donovan Solano.
Go get Brandon Bell. I'm so tired of talking about it at this point, I mean.
You need your players that you have decided on already to come through.
Correct.
They're not in a building phase. They're in a their phase. And now it's up to the players and the coaches to either sink or swim. And it's up to then the Padres to evaluate whether or not AJ Preller did a good job putting the team together. Right now, doesn't look like he's done a terrific job, again, putting this team together the way they are performing at the moment. Could that change? Of course it could. But in terms of pressure, I don't know what is he doing. This, I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's got a pit in his stomach like the rest of us do.
Yeah,
watching it, and probably more, knowing that his job is on the line. I would think, based on how the Padres perform, based on the comments during spring training from Eric Katsenda and Eric Grupner, that there's no one who is above evaluation, and the results will kind of dictate how what we decide going forward in the future. That yes, absolutely on the line. Is there any move he can make right now, any trade that he can change the course of the 2024 season? I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Well, what's happening?
They're not one player away. They're not so close, and if they just had one more bat in the lineup at the moment, it would turn things around. Maybe they can get to that point, but right now they need 5 of their stars to start playing better. And then you can start thinking about the little moves you can add to fine-tune what is already a good team. But at the moment, they're beyond help at the moment without some internal improvements.
The old internal meeting. Wonder if there was a team meeting last night. We didn't hear about it. Seemed like a good night to get the guys together.
I wonder if they've had any yet this year.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been pretty tight-lipped around there, certainly. But, so we'll have another, again, beauty of baseball. You got another game tonight. Got a chance to go out and completely, get back on the right track. It's going to be a tough order. Nick Martinez has not had the best start to his career in Cincinnati. Means literally nothing here. It means nothing. It means nothing. I mean, you doesn't matter the ERA. It doesn't matter how they struggled last time. We've seen it so many times. I'm more comfortable going against frontline pitchers, this Phillies series notwithstanding, than I am against some guy with a 5.48 ERA. Those are the guys that terrify me. They have ever since I've been a Padres fan. Those are the ones that I'm like, we're about to get our lunch eaten for us.
We complain about the feast or famine Padres. I miss the feast or famine Padres.
Feast.
Now they're just
It's
a
just
famine.
famine.
Padres.
It's literally just famine. Move where the food is, right? It's
I'll take one day of feast at least.
Yeah.
Give me a day of feast.
Yep.
Go back to feast or famine, because this all famine all the time. It ain't no fun.
It's not fun at all. Not fun at all. So yeah, I don't know, man. I know that there's probably when things like this start happening, I'm seeing people in our fan base get mad at Mud and Don, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Because they're trying to entertain you during another horrific Padres game. Like, I don't know. I think your anger is misguided there. But I do feel that the Padres are really at a precipice early in the season. I mean, it's early in the season, and they're already staring down the barrel of fans going, bro, you got to show us something. And I don't disagree with that at all. You have to.
We said it a lot last year. If you are Peter Seidler, Eric Katsenda, if you are in the Padres organization, the worst thing that can ever happen is apathy sets in with your fan base. And we're not even to May yet, and I think it's starting to settle in with at least some...
I disagree with the apathy. I'm seeing, like, rage. That's what I see the most of is, like, furiousness. But I'm not seeing anyone... Even Mike Schilt said...
Oh, I've seen it.
Last week that he is... Well, I mean, I see the standard, like, I'm turning the game off, whatever. They didn't. They didn't turn the game off. You know, they're watching. They're going to be watching tonight, you know. And what I'm seeing is, like, even Mike Schill's like, look, you want people talking about your team, good or bad. You'd like to flip it back to the good every now and then, you know.
I don't feel like it's early anymore.
No, I don't either.
Even after just 32 games, though. It's beyond early. There's 130 games left.
Sure.
Now, mathematically,
it's
fairly
very
early.
Yeah.
You could go 70 and 60 in your last 130 games. That's winning 7 out of every 13 games. Not exactly a world-beating pace, and that would get you to what? 85, 86 wins, you know, threatening to make the playoffs. You don't have to play out of your mind the rest of the season to get out of a 4-game hole under 500. You don't. You just have to play decent baseball the rest of the way, and you'll be fine. What worries me is that they've played 32 games, and I haven't seen enough decent baseball. I haven't seen enough good starting pitching. I haven't seen enough lineup, consistency out of anybody that makes me feel like they're going to be a team that wins 70 out of their last 130 games, which isn't, again, that's not a remarkable stretch for any team. That's a very, all right, they were a little better than 500. They won 7 out of 13 games consistently over the course of the season, just a tick above 500 over every 2 weeks. And that you'll be fine. I haven't seen it, though. Show that to me that you can do that over 2-week stretches. Play a little bit better than your opposition every 2 weeks, and you'll be okay. Let's see it, though, because I'm not seeing it right now from the Padres.
Talk a little Aztecs next, a little transfer portal, Benjamin.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The transfer portal has gone completely nuts. And right now, the biggest losers in college basketball's new reality, not just San Diego State, but the entire Mountain West Conference right now is in the torture chamber. We'll get to a little bit of that coming up. Check traffic. Don't forget, Jesse Agler at the bottom of the hour. Submit your incorporator words on our YouTube stream, on our Twitter feed, at Ben and Woods. We will have a word for Jesse. It's Tuesday, so the incorporator is coming up at the bottom of the hour as well. Don't go anywhere. More Ben and Woods ahead after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. I'm kind of used to getting some of the blame when the Padres perform poorly.
You personally?
Yeah, me and you, Ben and Woods.
Mostly you, but yeah, I see that.
Mostly me. You just said Don and Mudd are getting some of the
Yeah.
hate. I'm sure Jesse feels it. We'll talk to him at the bottom of the hour. Incorporator coming up with Jesse.
People get mad.
People get mad at the broadcasters and the radio hosts.
It is funny. Like, I'll say something on like a Wednesday about a player, and I'll be like, "Hey, man, he's probably shouldn't be in the lineup," and he'll get like 3 knocks. I'm pretty good at that. So maybe tonight you bench Manny and Xander and Tatis, right? And just send a message. Watch them all go off. The reverse jinx has really worked quite well for me this year. But, yeah, at the end of the day, it's not our fault. It's not your fault, the fans, certainly. It's not your fault, Ben.
I was surprised, though, that I heard we are also getting some of the blame for San Diego State losing players in the transfer portal. Is that
Was
true?
it blame, Paulie, or was it?
Are we the problem now? Is it us?
So what happened?
I'm not exactly sure. I have not heard this. We were doing our YouTube members stream yesterday, and I got like 4 people that texted me and said, let's see, buddy says, there's a Twitter Spaces chat happening tonight about the transfer portal, and someone just said, demanded, if you're on this call right now, tweet at Ben and Woods right now and tell them you demand more Aztecs coverage.
Okay.
Somebody else said, was it? The local radio stations are to blame. The number one sports show in the morning on 97.3 doesn't give an S about SDSU basketball.
Okay.
Then my buddy said he sounded like he was about to cry.
The guy that said it?
Yeah.
So
he was also slurring some
I
words.
tend to disagree that it's our fault that Elijah Saunders was the latest to enter the transfer portal yesterday. That was a surprise. He looked like he was maybe ready to take a step up next season and getting more minutes with Jaden Ledee gone. So, I see where he'll land and, what opportunities are out there. I'd imagine it's a financial decision again. I don't know that there's a ton of schools out there that are just itching to, fork over large 6-figure deals for Elijah Saunders based on his 6 points per game that he's put up at San Diego State. He does promising player. I would think he would have gotten a lot out of playing another season or 2 for Brian Dutcher in the San Diego State basketball program. Will he find a better landing spot somewhere else? I tend to doubt it. And, I don't want to criticize personal family decisions. Certainly, I understand Lamont Butler with the riches that are out there taking that opportunity to go play for Kentucky, which is a blue blood program. It's hard to criticize that. For Elijah Saunders, I guess we'll see where he lands, but my guess is there's a good chance he may end up regretting that decision of leaving San Diego State and a really good program with a good coaching staff.
Maybe he gets paid $250,000 and he's on a crappy team, but he's like, I wanted to get $250,000.
But even if he gets $250,000, we know the Aztecs are probably going to be playing in that NIL tournament, that players tournament. Who knows how much you might have gotten for staying as well.
Yeah.
On a team who's gone to back-to-back Sweet 16s and beyond. There may be more riches in the future at San Diego State than trying to get the quick buck somewhere else in the transfer portal.
And it's hard to ask a kid, to play the long game, certainly. And they're going to do what they want to do. They're going to do what the advice that they get from the people that are advising them, probably their parents, like in Lamont Butler's case. So good for them that they made their decision. I fail to see the correlation, though. If we talked more about it, guys would stay more. I don't understand. Do you want me to fundraise for you?
Lamont Butler's like, you know what? We're just not getting enough coverage.
Is that? I honestly, I failed to see the correlation here. And if you're one of those guys that was on those spaces, fire away. I
thought we had a good conversation about it yesterday.
I thought
you
we
guys
had
made a
one
really
Friday.
good point
about
how if anyone's to blame on this show, at least it's me.
Paul Reindl.
'Cause I'm the
You're the
alumni.
alum. Yeah, I didn't go there. It's not my responsibility to fundraise for your team, right? You have a flagship station.
All they do is talk Aztecs.
That's what they're supposed to do. We talk about it when necessary, and I think when you lose three names in the portal, absolutely that deserves a. But I don't understand the correlation. If we covered them more, Elijah Saunders wouldn't have left.
Do we need to start a GoFundMe? Hey, Aztec alums in the Tier 1 fan base, donate now.
Yeah, go. Like I'll say, I'm happy to say right now, if you're an alum and you are tired of seeing players leave, go donate to the Mesa Foundation. That's all I can tell you to do.
But unless you like own a big tech company or something, I don't know that your $100 donation,
Well,
as appreciated as it would be.
Micah Parrish yesterday was tweeting at Aztecs fans like about all of this yesterday. It was pretty wild.
I saw that, but I mean, unless you can get all of San Diego to donate, $50, which is never going to happen. I don't know that you don't have the fan base of a Duke or a Kentucky that's across the country and is probably 5 million people strong. You have San Diego, you have diehards, you have alums, you have people who live here that support the program. But even if they all donated, you're never going to get to the level of a Duke or a Kentucky in college basketball. So you're living in the economic class that you are living in, and you're going to try to make it as good as possible and get as much and squeeze as much as you can for your own players. But there's always going to be greener pastures out there. San Diego State's lawn is never going to be the greenest when it comes to college basketball. However, things could be worse. I just saw this morning. J.T. Toppin, the brilliant freshman of the year in the Mountain West for New Mexico, who looked like he was going to be an absolute star, maybe lift the Lobos past the Aztecs next season, just entered the transfer portal.
Brutal. Just
brutal loss for New Mexico. Brutal loss.
It kills the conference, Like when guys like that leave the conference, it brings not just your boat down in New Mexico. It brings everybody's boat down.
Boise State, which thought next year was going to be their year, they lost a couple of their key players in the transfer portal. It has been a really rough go for the Mountain West this year in the transfer portal in particular.
And again, I'll say this to the people on those spaces. We talk a lot of Padres baseball on this station. We did when we were on the other station that wasn't the flagship. Be careful what you wish for, because we talk about the Padres a lot, and they're terrible. So I don't know what you want. I don't know that we're the actual solution to that.
Tom says in the chat, pretty sure you guys are the only San Diego radio show to sponsor an SDSU athlete.
That's exactly right. Out of our own pockets.
Don't come to us.
Steve Sugimoto stayed, proud. He's now a professional golfer. So I don't know.
We're doing our part.
It's just a weird correlation to me that we don't have any control over those guys leaving, and I don't think if we did wall-to-wall Aztecs coverage here, which we'd be foolish to do.
Tony says Ben refuses to ignore. San Diego could be the best even with the right leadership. They have the right leadership. Brian Dutcher's doing a fantastic
He's
job.
The right leader.
They've gotten to the Final Four, the Sweet 16 the last 2 years, better than Kentucky's done. Financially, though, there's nothing that he can do. There's nothing that they can do. Just like there's nothing the Padres can do to match the Dodgers financially.
Hey, Kawhi Leonard, we need $5 million a year.
The Padres will never have a bigger TV contract. No matter how many, they could win the next 40 World Series in a row.
Not gonna happen.
They will never have a bigger TV contract than the Dodgers have. It will always be a fraction, a tiny fraction of what the Dodgers are getting. I'm talking financially.
You got to direct your anger elsewhere because it doesn't make any sense.
San Diego State can have all the success on the court. They may have more success next year with new players and great coaching like they always do. But financially, they will never be able to stop players from looking at the greener grass other places because there will be more money the way the system is currently at least formulated. You can get more elsewhere than you will be able to get at San Diego State, and that is constant. That will be a constant until the system changes.
Agreed.
All right, Jesse Agler will join us when we come back. The Incorporator, get his thoughts, his words of usual rationality that we get from Jesse on Tuesday mornings. Going to be a tough week for the Padres. He will be with us next on 97.3 The Fan. Be right back. Whew. It's been a morning.
It has.
It's been a morning. And it is tough when your baseball team has led after exactly 1 inning over the past 4+ days.
When you get blamed for the basketball team losing star players, that's a tough morning. It's hard to swallow in here.
I agree. Jesse Agler is standing by. We will chat with the voice of the Padres, see how he's taking all of this right after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Tough Turtle Turf. Transform your lawn with toughturtleturf.com. Couple problems here. One in Balboa Park, north on 163, right before Richmond. A solo vehicle accident is now over the right shoulder. The Cordell and Cordell traffic cam sees a crash on northbound side of the 805, just past the 52. Got a couple vehicles involved in this one. Appears to be blocking the fast lane. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Tough Turtle Turf is your go-to for all your landscaping needs. Transform your lawn with our lush, low-maintenance proprietary artificial turf. And add style and functionality with our durable pavers and stepping stones. And so much more. Transform your lawn with Tough Turtle Turf at toughturtleturf.com.
All right, Jesse Agler is with us, the voice of the Padres. You can hear him here on 97.3 The Fan. Jesse, it has been a tough week for the Padres, to be sure. And I do think that, I think Woodsy had the best thought this morning when he said the reason the Padres have struggled at home is they're getting off to slow starts with their starting pitching, and they're constantly putting themselves behind in the first inning. That is no way to win baseball games. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's jump right into it. I think that's true, and look, that can be the truth on the road also. I think it's probably a little bit too early to jump into the home road stuff. Obviously, your point about the home team coming to bat last is relevant, to this specific thing. But, falling behind early, has kind of been a trend all year, or giving up early runs and at times scoring early runs too. And, they showed some grit and some mettle early on this season with some comeback wins, not just the two big ones, but some sort of more normal ones as well. But I think even at the time, you sort of realize, all right, this is not necessarily, a formula you want to follow all year long. It makes for some excitement. It makes for some fun. It makes for some drama, which we're all certainly in favor of. But you can't be doing that all the time because you're not going to be able to come back at that kind of pace. That's just not the way this sport works. So, yes, quicker starts. I even remember, I think Joe Musgrove said something about that after, his last good one. He said, it was really important to kind of go out there, put up some early zeros, and kind of establish that. And that's definitely something we'll be keeping an eye on. Like I said, I don't think of it too much as a home road thing just yet, although I know the home record is what it is. But I do think, that giving up those early runs is something that is something we should all be paying a lot of attention to.
Yeah, I remember telling Ben a few weeks ago after, another, and I don't think it was after one of the big ones, one of the big comeback wins. It was one of the kind of middling ones, but hey, those still count, and that's a win in the book. I remember telling Ben, hey, if the identity of this team this year are the cardiac kids, I don't know if I can handle it. I mean, everyone was on edge, and not so far the last 5 games. It's tough. Look, somebody in the chat said, no, Lodolo's been really good. He's got nasty stuff. He does. They all do, though. They all do. I mean, you could literally say that about damn near every pitcher in the big leagues. He's got nasty stuff, and at some point, it's tough to tip your cap 5 games in a row. And I love Schilt.
You're not tipping your cap 5 games in a row. You're tipping your cap probably 3 of the 5 games.
3 of 5.
And that is part of baseball. And look, Lodolo is really good. I don't care that, Joe Fan has never heard of him. He's really good.
He is.
He plays in Cincinnati. He's been hurt a lot, so people don't necessarily know of him. Nola's really good and pitching great. Ranger Suarez is also like an early Cy Young type campaign. So like those 3 guys, and whether you want to tip your cap or not is fine. You certainly don't have to. But like, yes, those are the kinds of guys that, you're going to have to beat every once in a while. But those aren't necessarily the ones that are going to drive me to an early grade, those games.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Thursday in Colorado. It's going to be not taking more advantage of Taijuan Walker. Those are the ones I feel like that deserve a little bit more attention maybe than like when the guy who's really, really good comes in and pitches really, really well. It's like, all right, on to the next. But, there can only be so many of those if you're not going to balance them out with taking care of business in the games that you need to.
And I think for me, the Lodolo one last night is like, oh, this is a guy that has looked good. He does have nasty stuff. And you've got him on the ropes a little bit, and then then it stops. I think that's the more frustrating part for me. Some not great ABs, in the game. And, man, he was mowing them down. I mean, at one point, it was just like, holy cow, there's 12. Oh, there's 15. There's 18. I mean, it was pretty anemic last night. But, he found something, made an adjustment, and locked in. And it was actually, if I take my emotions out of it, a really, really impressive performance by that young man last night.
Yeah, it was. And again, look, all those in a row are not, that's hard to totally excuse, right? You got to get some base traffic at some point and make life a little bit difficult on him. But he was that good. He really was. And look, not that you're rooting for this or anything, but good teams have been no hit before. So you're entitled to a few of those, but when they come in bunches, I can understand, the alarm of it all. And it's been a very tough 5 days. The crazy thing is, that's just the nature of baseball season. If you go back to Thursday before the meltdown against Colorado, I think everybody was feeling really good about this team. They're playing good baseball. They appeared like they were going to be taking care of business against an inferior team. They were getting really good starting pitching. And it's just a reminder, I guess, to all of us about how quickly things can kind of swing back and forth in a baseball season. And it's emotionally draining if you're living and dying with every pitcher, every game, as I know a lot of people listening right now do. And that can be tough. So a bad 5 days, hopefully now a good 7 or 8 days coming up.
Jesse, I consider myself a fairly knowledgeable baseball fan, and I enjoy understanding the quirky rules of the game. I get the infield fly. I know how to do a double switch. I know all these things. So when something comes up in a baseball game that even I am completely ignorant to, I'm surprised. And I know you don't get on a soapbox a lot, but when there is a situation that happens in a game and we're all either at the game and not knowing what's going on, or listening on our radios and not knowing what's going on, or watching on television and not knowing what's going on, yet there's someone who can explain it, someone who has a microphone attached to their body. They could explain what's going on, and they don't do it. I know that frustrates you. There was a situation in the second inning involving a very unusual balk call, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we figured it out on our own, Scans and I, but that's not how it should work, right? We shouldn't have to spend half an inning being like, oh, maybe it was this. Oh, you know what? I just saw the replay. He didn't tell the umpire he was going out of the windup. Because as you said, that's a little bit of one of those hidden little rules that most people don't know about. It reminded me a little bit, remember the football game this year where they got, they checked in as eligible and nobody knew what was going on and there was great controversy. It's kind of one of those sorts of things, that was taking place. And yeah, I've talked to people at MLB about this, and they have just basically said, hey, our policy for the time being is that the umpire microphone will only be used for challenges. And when I pushed back on that, I think they've sort of silently acknowledged, yes, we understand there's more we could do. We're just not there yet. So I do hope at some point they get to it. But then, yes, when something like last night happens, I think it's important to point out, hey, this is a really perfect opportunity, because Todd Fischner, the home plate umpire, the crew chief, as you said, literally is wearing a microphone on his jersey. And, he points out to the mound. It was clearly a balk, but it's a weird balk because it doesn't have anything to do with, moving or anything like that. It just had to do with he didn't tell the umpire that he was going out of the windup. And with Matt Waldron, his windup and his stretch are almost identical.
Yeah, they're eerily similar.
In the stands, right? If you're in the stands, there is almost no way that you would ever have any idea what's going on, which, oh, by the way, even if you look down for 2 seconds to crack open a peanut shell, you look back up and you're like, what the heck is going on? And there's no way for the paying people in the building, 40,000 of them last night, to know what's going on if they're not listening to the broadcast. And as you said, we even took a couple of minutes to have to kind of figure out what had taken place right there. It's such an obvious time for Todd Fischner to get on the microphone and be like, balk was called, the pitcher didn't say he was pitching out of the windup, and he did, the run scores. And people would have booed, but that's fine. At least everybody would have known what was going on. And to bring another football analogy back into it, imagine if, they threw a penalty flag and they marched off 10 yards backwards from the line of scrimmage, and there was no signal or no announcement to the fans. Everybody would be looking around being like, all right, it's 10 yards. It was probably holding on an offensive player, but I'm not entirely sure You think it was the left guard? No, it might have been the tackle. Like, that would never happen. Like, that kind of operation would be ridiculous. And it doesn't happen as much in baseball, of course. Most things are more straightforward than that. But last night, perfect example. And yes, I got on my soapbox. And, that would have been a great opportunity for Major League Baseball to say, you know what, these are the kinds of ones where we could be explaining it to the fans.
I'll do you one better. How about this? Speaking of football, guys are wide receivers, and they get up, they get on the line, they put their foot down. There's a guy standing there to let them know that they're on the line, right?
Back up.
On what planet can the umpire not know or say to Matt Waldron, wind up or stretch? Stretch, okay. I mean, how effing hard is that to do, right?
Well, I think it is the responsibility of the pitcher.
Oh, well, fine, but
if you're going to go out of the windup, it's the responsibility. I don't agree with that necessarily because similarly, let's keep going with football here. Like you have like the check-in thing. You have to check in. It's not the referee's responsibility to go up to you and be like, "Hey, you're
off."
Like you're the guy. In that situation, and it was just like one of those brief mental lapses. And a weird thing that you see maybe once every 2 or 3 years, if you watch a team. So look, it was a mental lapse. It was a thing that happened. The call is right. My issue is not with the fact that the call was made. My issue is the fact that you got 40,000 people who spent really good money to be in the building, and probably 11 of them were able to figure out what happened.
I mean, like football referees, they go to the microphone 25 times a game.
Yes.
Basketball referees do it now
too.
They got a TV monitor that's just for them, to a camera to look into to explain
How
everything.
many times would a baseball umpire really need to do it? Twice a game, maybe? Like, let's make it happen.
If that. Yeah. No, they're aware of it. And look, baseball in the current era, I give them credit. They are far more open to change than they've ever been, obviously, with all the rule adjustments. But some of these things do take time. And I imagine, they're dealing with the umpires union on this. And, there's some sensitivities there and all that. But we're getting there. And it's something I do think we're going to see at some point, but not this year.
Getting you, Darvish, back. Hopefully the lift the Padres are looking forward to tonight. They really do need, Jesse, though, more consistency out of their starting pitching. There was that one nice turn through the rotation for everybody, but other than that, it's been very hit or miss and actually too much miss for the most part.
No doubt. And, I mean, if you look at the way they've lost most of these last 5 games, Friday, Saturday, yesterday, certainly, it's because the other team's starting pitching came in and dominated. And I'm not suggesting you need 8 out of everybody like we saw from the Phillies in the first 2 games of that series, or that you even need something like Lodolo last night. But you need better. There's no doubt about it. Look, I think, Tony and I have had a lot of conversations on the air and off the air about this team, obviously. And one of the things he jumped on, probably the first week of the season, and we've talked about it a lot, is that just kind of looking at this team right now, not to say this is going to be the case all year, but certainly this version of the 2024 Padres, the early season version, this collection of guys, there is very little margin for error. And we don't necessarily mean literal errors like, an infielder boots a ball, although we've certainly seen that, impact this team in a big way. But whether it's a bad start or even a bad inning for a starting pitcher, whether it's a base running mistake, whether it is a normal defensive error, all those things, they are just not built, it seems right now, to be able to absorb those kinds of mistakes. So they're going to have to play very clean baseball to win. And normally when we say that, we're talking base running and defense. But I think, for this year's team right now, the starting pitching has to be a part of that conversation as well. And look, I guess you could say it about any team in baseball history. If you don't get good starting pitching, you're going to have trouble. But I think that's, particularly true. That's sort of been my read on this team, and kind of the way, the lens I've looked through every game at is all right, they're going to have to play close to mistake-free baseball in pretty much every way. And if they don't, they're going to be in a bad position. And again, that doesn't mean that as the year goes on and guys heat up and maybe, the roster changes a little bit, that there won't be a bigger cushion, for some of these things. But right now, this version of the team really cannot afford offensive lulls. They cannot afford base running mistakes. They cannot afford a starting pitcher even having 2 bad innings. That's just sort of the way they are right now. And so, it's very easy to kind of look around and be like, That's the reason they lost last night. That's the reason they lost 2 days ago. They're gonna have to clean some of that stuff up, and they certainly know that. I mean, you listen or read what all the pitchers have to say after these games. They know that's not good enough. And while it's nice that starting pitcher X settled in after the second inning and gave them some length and was able to chew up some innings that you didn't have to ask the bullpen to chew up. Those 4 or 5 runs that you allowed in the first 2 innings, that can sink the ship. And these guys are well aware of that.
Well, you're going to have to play very clean incorporator going forward because Tony seems to be on to you. Last week, Snollygoster, he definitely noticed when you incorporated that word.
Are you back?
No doubt about it.
Back with Tony tonight, or is it Scan again?
Scans for the whole series.
Oh, Scan for the whole series.
Scan,
Okay, so Scan. He's pretty
played
sharp.
incorporator before, so
Yeah.
he's sharp. I wonder if he'll be listening in. And speaking of the ship sinking, we've got a nautical term for you today on the incorporator. Today's incorporator word is baggy wrinkle. There it is.
Oh,
we
what was
said it in chorus.
Baggy wrinkle.
Baggy wrinkle.
Oh, I thought you were going to do poop deck.
No, baggy wrinkle. It's a soft covering for cables to reduce sail chafe.
Chafe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun one.
So you don't want those ropes tearing a hole in the sail. So you put the baggy wrinkle, which is kind of like a soft material that goes around the cords to make sure that your sail stays in good shape.
We call them lines on a ship.
Oh, lines.
Oh,
you're a sailing man.
If we're going to do terminology.
You old sailor.
The rigging.
There you go.
Baggy wrinkle.
We don't say ropes.
Baggy
we say
wrinkle.
lines on a
I'm sorry, the baggy wrinkle.
Not all of us are sailors like yourself, Jesse Agler.
I mean, we're in a sailing town.
We are.
Nautical. You've got a view of the harbor.
Imagine if Dennis Connor's listening right now. Like, how is he going to feel hearing you
sick to his stomach?
Call it a rope.
A rope.
Sick.
Baggy
He's
wrinkle.
going to throw something at his radio.
I can't wait.
Baggy
to hear
wrinkle
this one.
on the lines or rigging of the ship or the sailboat of some sort. But that's your word for tonight. Baggy wrinkle.
Thank you, Jesse.
Love it. Can't wait.
All right,
Hang
buddy.
in there.
All right, we will.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right.
Thanks, Jesse.
Feel a little bit better after talking to Jesse.
I wonder. I wanted to ask him if he ever had to climb the ropes at school and how he did. Anytime you bring up ropes, I just get PTSD from climbing the ropes. No baggy wrinkles on those. Chafing was
chafing.
Prevalent.
Rope burn is the
rope
worst.
burn. I'm going to Disneyland tomorrow. I just realized I have to put in some powder so that I don't chafe walking around. You use the powder?
I don't
the
use
Gold
any
Bond?
powder.
Never.
No.
And you play golf and you don't use you don't use Gold Bond.
I don't.
A little Gold Bond.
You got to have it.
Yeah.
Really? You don't chafe?
I mean, not usually,
Oh,
but
interesting.
certainly have in the past.
Yeah, it's not fun. Disneyland will bring it out of you too. A lot of sweating, a lot of walking.
You used to have like a rope climbing course on Tom Sawyer's Island.
Maybe I'll
Don't
try
know
it.
if they still have that anymore.
I'll make sure Hannah gets video
That's
if
not
she
really
has
fun.
it.
I don't know. When I go to an amusement park, the last thing I wanted to have to do
Climb
is
ropes.
climb ropes.
Yeah.
That's not fun or vacation like for
But
me.
if you do, we'll need video.
All right, I'll get it to you. Baggy wrinkle. I like it.
We got 1 hour to go. Our friend AJ Cassavell is back on the
sweet
beat.
angel.
He's a new dad, and he is scheduled to join us to kick off our 9 a.m. hour. Do not go anywhere. More Bennett Woods on the way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Final hour of Bennett Woods. Thanks again to Jesse Agler. Going to have the incorporator word for tonight, Baggy Wrinkle. You can listen to him in Scan and the Eco Water SoCal pregame show at 5:40. First pitch 6:40 tonight. But it's great to have AJ Cassavell back on the beat covering the San Diego Padres. We both have had newborns in the past, you more recently than I have, Woods, and it certainly impacts your sleep schedule. It's a major change in lifestyle, and AJ Cassavell became a dad for the first time just a few weeks ago. He's now back to work. Maybe he thought returning would be some nice baseball. Instead, he's gotten a team that is in the torture chamber right now that he's covering. Not quite as much fun, but AJ Cassavell from MLB.com joins us right now on 97.3 The Fan. AJ, big congratulations from all three of us here on fatherhood.
Yeah, thanks, guys. My son and I spent the last 3 or 4 weeks watching the Padres play some pretty good baseball, and then I came back to work, and they've just kind of, I don't know, they look more like the 2023 version. So maybe it's me. I don't know.
Well,
don't say that because people will
they'll actually
blame you. At this
All
point.
right, I should disprove that then, because last year, actually, in the games that I covered, because I cover about 130 games a year. Last year, the Padres were 15 games over 500 in the games that I covered.
That's pretty good.
It is assuredly not me.
So when your fill-ins were there, like Sean O'Neill or someone, that's when they collapsed last year.
Essentially, yeah.
Ouch.
Your article that you wrote, Cassavell, my first game as a Padre, I honestly, I was weeping. I didn't know about your father passing away. It's so special. It was such a great piece that you wrote. I'm so happy for you, man. Fatherhood is the ultimate blessing, and I'm stoked, man. And I'll tell you this: as hard as it may seem right now, it only gets worse. Just so you know, every stage is harder. Each stage is harder than the last one, and you think you're in the pits of hell sometimes, and you're like, wow, it's actually worse now. Terrible twos? No. Wait till he hits 3. But it's such a delight along the way, and your article was really, really good, man.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, so far it's been easy because for the most part I haven't been back at work, and even in the last week, I had some family in town helping out, which was great. And so today is kind of my first day where I'm a little bit sleep deprived, and he just went back down in the bassinet. So I'm gonna, as soon as I get off here, I'm crashing for a little bit. I'm hoping to get a little bit extra sleep before I can get back to the ballpark this afternoon.
All right, AJ, I'm going to start here with a big picture question for you. When things are going poorly, fans tend to want something to be done, some action to be taken, usually by maybe the general manager, sometimes the manager making some sort of change. I look at this Padres team, though, and I have trouble finding an area where you could actually make a notable change with players locked into big-time contracts, with no trade clauses, without much of a bench to speak of to, replace starters, without much of a pitching depth. This is almost a change-proof team. Do you see any areas where, if things aren't going well, that the Padres could make some moves at this point?
Well, I think they could upgrade. There are ways to upgrade the bench. There are ways to add hitters that, into that DH spot, that DH rotation that's a little better. There's ways to, fill out the back of the rotation. But these are all trade deadline things down the road where if the Padres are playing the type of baseball they're playing now, that might not be the prudent decision to make. And so you look at the roster kind of the way it's constructed right now. There's not this big fix because you have those big guys already in the spots they're supposed to be in this lineup, in this rotation, and those guys, I think, essentially just need to perform better. You're getting probably less than you would have expected from maybe 7 or 8 of the bigger stars on this roster. And there's also a track record of those guys performing better, but it's early. We can say that it's April, but last season it was early until it wasn't, and all of a sudden the Padres found themselves on the outside looking in despite a really strong finish. And so at some point things got to click, and I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be the case for all of those guys, but some of the guys the Padres were counting on, the guys the Padres are counting on to replace Juan Soto. I mean, the big bats have underperformed. The guys the Padres were in the rotation the last time through haven't been good enough. And there's, like I said, there's a track record for those guys to be better, but at some point they have to do it because they can't put themselves behind the 8 ball like they did last season.
Talking to our pal AJ Cassavell here on Ben and Woods this morning. A couple of games notwithstanding, AJ, the bullpen this year has been pretty solid, and now you're finding it hard to get to some of your more high leverage guys because you're not scoring runs. It's such a vicious circle, this game of baseball. Like, everything really needs to be clicking at once. It feels like it's been a long time for this San Diego Padres team that everything is actually clicked at once. You had one essentially good turn through the rotation this season so far. When you look at the starting pitching right now, I mean, it feels dicey to me, extremely dicey. Bullpen actually is the one area where I'm like, you know what? If we can get a lead, I'm fairly confident, again, couple games notwithstanding, fairly confident the bullpen can get it done. But pitching-wise, starting pitching's got to be a focus, yeah?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if Yu Darvish comes back tonight and pitches like the good version of Yu Darvish that we've seen in the past, and if Joe Musgrove can in some way, shape, or form figure out his command, figure out what's wrong with the slider, get his velo up half a mile per hour, like those concerns are alleviated in a big way because Michael King has still done some really good things despite his last two starts, one of which was at Coors Field, the other of which was against the Phillies offense that was basically the Murderers Row Yankees over the weekend. I think there's some good things to say about what this rotation can be if Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish are the versions of themselves that the Padres have seen in the past. Now that at this point seems like it might be asking a lot because both their seasons ended early last year due to injuries. I don't think those injuries are lingering into what these guys are doing this season, but it's impossible to ignore the possibility given kind of how they performed and the fact that Darvish is on the IL right now due to come off this afternoon. So the rotation, there's some makings of what should be a pretty good group, I think, because Dylan Cease has been really good and Michael King has shown flashes of being really good. But those stalwarts just need to be better.
AJ, I fully expect when the Padres acquire hitters that there may be some, lowering of the offensive numbers with Petco Park and how it's played in the past. So, I didn't think Xander Bogaerts is going to be a 30 home run hitter. But when you look at the numbers and the hard hit balls, and David Schoenfield went through it, he's now down to the 8th percentile in hard hit rate. He was in 65th in 2021, 47th in 2022, 18th last year, and now 8th hard hit rate. That's a dramatically steep decline. And while he has downplayed the wrist issues that were talked about a lot last year, he's pretty much said it's not an issue this year. I have to wonder if there's something physically going on with Xander Bogaerts, because that's an alarming trend for any baseball player, especially one signed to a long-term big money contract.
Yeah, for it to be that stark and for it to be where it is right now from a guy who has hit the ball really hard in the past and has gotten good results from it, like you kind of have to wonder, he's not letting us into that possibility if that's bothering him. But I mean, the results kind of speak for themselves. So if it's not that, then something needs to change with his swing, with his stance. I don't know. I'm not going to get too deep into the hitting mechanics of it all because I frankly don't have the answers. But it's looked it's looked ugly through a few weeks in the fact that he's not making any of that hard contact. And if you watch this guy in Boston, it was, even if it wasn't 30 homers, it was line drives into the gap all the time. And he hasn't been that player in San Diego. And you kind of got to wonder, whether it's health, whether it's risk related. And if not, what can be done to change it? Whatever it is, the Padres need to figure it out soon because he's obviously an integral part of what they're trying to do and what their future is.
Talking to AJ Cassavell here on Ben and Woods this morning. The lone bright spot this year offensively, other than Jackson Merrill, I don't want to take anything away from what he's been able to do as a rookie, is Jurickson Profar. We were laughing about it before the show, talking about the makeup of guys that make up this team. Both kind of agreed, like Jurickson Profar, one of the only guys that is worse when he leaves here and really seems to be at home here and really is a leader of this team for $1 million. He thrives here, $1 million a year. It's been really remarkable watching his turnaround this year and the attitude, everything that he brings to the table. They were talking about it on the broadcast last night. You hate playing against him. You absolutely loathe him if he's on the other team. But you got to have guys like that on this squad. That was a really good pickup in the offseason for AJ Preller. What do you think when you look at Jurickson? Is it kind of cross your fingers and pray that it doesn't end anytime soon?
Well, I think the underlying numbers say that it's not going to be this good as long as he's here. He's getting some batted ball luck, but at the same time, you can't fault the quality of his at bats and the fact that he is pesky and he's annoying to opposing pitchers, and he's been really, really good, even if he hasn't been necessarily probably as good as what his numbers say. I think, and not to take this back in the negative direction, but I think like the fact that Jurickson Profar has established himself as the clear, I wrote about this last night, that the fact that Jurickson Profar has established himself as the clear option in the leadoff spot has been probably the Padres' best hitter over the first month. Like that is both a credit to Jurickson Profar and something of an indictment on the rest of the team and the fact and a summary of what the problems are. Because in an ideal world, if you have this version of Jurickson Profar and he's hitting 6th or 7th because Ha-Seong Kim or Xander Bogaerts has really grabbed hold of that leadoff spot, and Tatis and Machado are playing up to their capabilities. Like that's what you want this offense to be. And the offense has generally been pretty good, but I just think it's been a product more of some performances like Profar, some stuff down the lineup with Jackson Merrill, like Rosario has been pretty good. That's both a good thing and a problem for the offense. But if we want to focus on what Profar has meant to the group, like the intangibles of it all, it's there for everyone to see. I mean, he sparked this group before. I think we saw it in the 2022 postseason. It was more than just what he did on the field. I think he led off for most of those playoffs and just some of the at-bats and the tone that he set and just kind of his nature of not giving in. I think this team, this group of guys, like clearly responds to that. And the fact that the Padres are able to bring him back at such a steal, it's both a coup, the fact that he's been as good as he's been for as cheap as he's been, and the fact that he's been this good when the Padres were ideally kind of planning on him being in a part-time role, maybe a bench bat, maybe a DH bat, maybe 3 or 4 games a week.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of so integral to this lineup. Again, credit to him. Also an indictment on some issues elsewhere.
I am not a big believer in the magical powers of the team meeting or the players only meeting, but they do happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was one forthcoming, even if there was one we haven't heard about yet. I don't know what would be discussed, though, other than play better in a team meeting. If you were on the team and you called a team meeting, AJ, what would be the topic du jour right now for the San Diego Padres?
Yeah, I think that's probably why you don't call the team meeting right now. Although I don't know the logistics of how team meetings get called in the first place. Actually, I would read up.
I would read a story on that.
I would too.
Is it a group text? Is there like a memo that's posted on the locker room somewhere? How does that work?
Yeah, but I don't know the answer to that. I know they held quite a few last season, and they generally didn't seem to work. But this season, I think that's the reason you don't hold one right now, because I don't know that there is that issue. I mean, they seem to be playing with kind of the requisite fire. They seem to be playing with clean baseball defensively. They're doing a lot of the right things, and then they're just not hitting when they need to hit, not hitting when they pitch, not pitching when they hit, and it's just kind of fallen into this little rut where things and whatever they need to go right doesn't go right, and that's kind of how baseball works sometimes. And so if you're sitting here looking at them being 4 games under 500, well, they probably could be, based on some underlying numbers, some numbers that we've seen from what their pitching staff could be and what their offense. I mean, their offense has been pretty good. And then last night, when they need, they need to answer back to the few runs Matt Waldron gives up early, they just fell completely flat against obviously a really good pitcher. But it just hasn't kind of been cohesive enough in when they're getting stuff done. So again, that's why I'm not calling a team meeting right now. I don't think there's a major issue that needs to be addressed. They, like you said, they just need to play better. They need to make the pitches when they need to make the pitches. They need to get the hits when they need to get the hits, and they haven't done that in the last 5 games.
AJ, well, we know you probably have to get back to some sort of schedule, so we appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your now much busier day to enlighten Ben and Wood's listeners out there on the San Diego Padres. Appreciate your time.
Much busier, but in a better way. Thanks, guys.
Of course. AJ Cassavell, MLB.com, and last year's good luck charm, apparently. That's for a team that was 2 games above 500 to be 15 games above 500 in the games you covered in particular. That's a solid upgrade.
Well, you say
for
that.
AJ's days.
The way my brain works is you should have had your ass to the ballpark more then. That's how I feel about it, right?
No more days off for AJ.
Yeah, no more days off, my friend.
Yeah, those 30-some days off that he took over the course of the regular season. How many days did we take off last year?
A lot. We took a lot off.
During the season?
30.
I don't think we did 30. No. We were there.
You did.
We just
I
didn't.
bet Paul and I did.
We didn't help the team at all.
This year's my year. This is the year.
I took vacation. Let's see. I started last Thursday was my first full day of vacation. Loss, loss, and now I'm back, and there's another loss.
I'll be on vacation tomorrow, so
if they start winning tomorrow,
then I'll just
do you
stay
just
away.
never come back?
I'll never come back.
Woods' his favorite bit ever.
Favorite bit
the
of all time.
Padres winning streak while Woods stays
Never
away.
F with a winning streak.
You don't mess with a winning streak. Ever.
Unfortunately, though,
Paul and I would be in the torture chamber. Padres have won 13 in a row. We have not heard from Woods in 2 weeks.
you're only missing one day. You need to win more than one game for it to be a streak.
That's true. That's true. Doesn't really count.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. Couple of segments left before Annie and Elston look ahead to tonight's game with an old friend alert on the mound for the Cincinnati Reds. We still have a Reindl report as well. Push that back a little bit, so lots to get to. Coming up after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Thanks again to AJ Cassavell from MLB.com. We talked yesterday, Woods, about what the Padres might do with tonight's starting pitching rotation spot if Yu Darvish was not able to come off the injured list. I thought Johnny Brito had earned a chance at entering the starting rotation. Turns out they're not going to need that spot starter again, as Yu Darvish was announced last night by Mike Schilt after the game. Will make the start today. Padres will have to make a corresponding roster move, though. And I would speculate, while you could send Jeremiah Estrada back down, because you brought him up, I don't know that you'd do that. He's got a 0.00 ERA. He's looked pretty solid. 0.00. Guy who is, you said the bullpen has actually been pretty solid, but a guy who continues to struggle a little bit, that the expectations were pretty high for this year, is Tom Cosgrove. ERA is still around 10. Came in last night, gave up another run, was used last night.
You've got enough lefties down there now. You got 4 lefties down in the bullpen. I would hate that for Tom. The other one, we need bench help, right? Does it have to be a pitcher?
I think they
it does,
now have to be a pitcher.
Well,
You've got your specific 13 and 13 that you go with now. So I wouldn't be shocked if Cosgrove went down to AAA.
Try to figure it out.
Just get a little sharper. We've seen him plenty sharp last year.
Yeah.
He was very sharp last season.
What'd they say? Like the best sweeper in baseball last year.
Just hasn't quite had the same level of success. Well, not even close this year. So I will see what corresponding move is made when Yu Darvish is activated from the injured list, but that would certainly be a possibility.
Yeah, interesting.
I see in the chat, I Need Money says Kolek can go. He's the Rule 5 draft pick. You could try to send him down, but he would be claimed or retaken by the Seattle Mariners, and you would lose him. Now maybe at some point you have to make that decision.
I said it when you were out. I said you can find another Stephen Kolek. You've had no problem finding Stephen Kolek. Jeremiah Estrada looks to be a pretty good piece down there, and that was the move that I said last week. Just let Kolek go back to the Mariners if you have to, and Estrada comes up, takes his spot. But you're right about Cosgrove. I mean, he's pretty ineffective now, and you can't have that. I mean, you have 4 left-handers in your bullpen. You'll be fine if one of them goes.
I mean, you never want to lose a player who you think has some promise, and if you like Stephen Kolek, you don't have to let him go. Might as well keep holding on to him.
But that means that you have to use him then in spots where you don't. As I've mentioned, AJ Preller has never had a problem finding Stephen Koleks. Never. It's never been an issue. Can find him almost at will.
If he's not going to help you, you got to know when to.
Well, you can't take
that risk of possibly losing him.
Well, I mean, the Mariners take him back, whatever. Nothing against the guy personally, but you've got Estrada now. You got a right-hander. He throws harder. Has better pitch mix, all of it. So yeah, I'd probably say my goodbyes.
Of course, Nick Martinez will get the start for the Cincinnati Reds. He's actually taking the spot of Frankie Montas, who's hurt in the Reds rotation. He has served a very similar role for the Reds as he did with the Padres. He's bounced between the bullpen and the starting rotation. It's a valuable thing to be able to do. I don't know if that's what he expected when he signed with the Cincinnati Reds really early in the offseason.
Yeah, I think I was under the impression that they said, we're going to bring you in to be a starting pitcher. But, as everybody knows, roles change a lot in baseball.
So with the right-hander on the mound, I wonder if it's time to give either Ha-Seong Kim or Xander Bogaerts a day off. They're both among the top 5 in baseball in innings played this season, as is Fernando Tatis Jr. I would not take Fernando out of the lineup right now. He's actually has been barreling the ball. The hits aren't falling in, but if you look at the numbers over the last couple of weeks, he's hit the ball as hard as anybody. He's just not getting the results to show for it. Hate to take a guy out when you feel like at any moment he could go 3 for 4 with a home run.
Yeah.
So, leave Fernando in there.
Definitely fine getting Xander off his feet if need be.
It's possible that one of those right-handers gets a day off today. The problem is that you don't have great options elsewhere.
Well, you got to imagine Manny's going to be off his feet again today, so Manny's probably your DH. Aggie's probably at maybe Tyler Wade at third.
Wow. Okay,
Be interesting to see if Merrill gets in today.
Yeah,
but if Xander is then off and Tyler Wade's at third, who's at second?
You could do Tyler Wade at second and Eggie at third if you had to.
Right-hander, Eggy against a right-hander is not something we've seen a ton.
We haven't seen him.
Graham Pauly can play third base, and you can put Tyler Wade at second. Wow.
We haven't seen it. Do you think Crony could just slide back over to second for a game, or has he pretty just much been locked in at first? You put Profar at first, like if you needed to.
Could, but then Sugar's in the lineup.
Here's the problem: you want to give Xander Bogaerts a day off. You want to give your starters a day off. Your options are very limited as to what you can do.
Well, it's also tough to give guys a day off when you've lost 5 straight. Pay a lot of money for those guys to be in the lineup every day and
for this exact situation. To help stop losing streaks, to help you win games, to come through with a big game and break out of a slump. This is why you pay them so much money. So do you give them a day off or do you not give them a day off in this situation?
I probably don't. I did not like Xander Bogaerts getting a day off against the Dodgers. I just didn't.
It's the only day off he's had all season.
Yeah. I mean, that's not one I would have given him personally. And even if he needed it, even if he was scuffling, whatever, hey man, we need you to find your way out of it for what you get paid. You get paid to be an everyday player, and sure, everybody needs a break from time to time. I get it. But in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, I don't know how much. And again, we talked about it earlier. This is what Bob Melvin ran into last year. The team was just so inconsistent. He never felt he could take anybody out of the lineup. Manny, Juan, Fernando, any of those guys, Xander. He just couldn't do it. You can't in good faith write the lineup card out and go, all right, Fernando, we're going to give you a blow today. Forget it. Like you have an infinitely better chance of winning a game with Fernando Tatis Jr. in the lineup or Manny Machado or, Xander Bogaerts when he's at his best, and he hasn't been. But I don't think you can. I really don't think you can. I would expect righty on the bump. Maybe Graham Pauly gets a start today, which would be fine. Schilt's probably going to go with Tyler Wade, but Graham Pauly is sitting there, waiting to get some ABs. So maybe the day for it. Somebody's got DH. Maybe it's Graham.
Oh, well, then it would be Manny if Tyler Wade's in there. So,
exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what Schilt's going to do. I would imagine Jurickson Profar will be back in the leadoff spot.
Yeah.
He's looked good there the last 2 days.
Yep.
No need to mess with that. Only guy who's actually performing on a consistent basis. After that, picking names out of a hat at this point. All right, we've got a pair of tickets to give away, again, to the San Diego Legion. They've got another home game coming up this Sunday at Snapdragon Stadium against the Dallas Jackals. Grab your tickets at sdlegion.com. It's San Diego's rugby team, sdlegion.com, or you can win them right now. Fourth caller, 833-288-0973. We've got a pair to give away for this Sunday's game against Dallas at Snapdragon Stadium, 833-288-0973. Paulie's got some headlines. Rindle Report in our final segment of Ben and Woods that is coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. think I'm stopping by Trader Joe's on the way home.
For
today.
what?
Well, I need a couple staples, yogurt, rice.
Oh, I thought you meant like actual staples.
No.
You should go to Staples.
Kitchen staples, like yogurt, rice, just kind of the basic stuff.
Yogurt and rice.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you buy your rice? Do you buy it in the boil-in bags or the
No, we have a
instant?
rice maker, so I
do?
get the little dry pieces of rice in a bag,
Can I ask a
jasmine
question?
rice, and I make it in our rice maker.
How do you do it?
In the rice maker?
Yeah, how hard? What do you have to do?
I put 2 cups of rice in,
Okay.
and then I fill it up to like just below the line that says 4 on the water. So
Okay.
double the amount of water than rice. Plug in the rice maker, turn it on, and I hit the button for white rice, and then you leave.
How long?
It usually takes about 30 minutes, and then it's
30?
done. And when you open it up, you've got a big giant pile. It's like this was a little tiny bit of rice, and then you open it up, and you've got this big fluffy pile of rice that comes out of the rice maker at the end.
We
It's
had
like
a rice
a magic.
cooker growing up. It's
It's like a
game-changer.
magic appliance.
All right, hang on.
And by the way, really
30
cheap.
minutes, though.
Really cheap because one bag of rice costs like $3, and you can get mountains of rice out of it.
But, all right, so question. 30 minutes is a long time. And when you cook rice...
Uh-oh.
What?
Now everyone's saying, you don't wash your rice first? No, am I supposed to wash the rice? What have I been doing wrong?
You clearly didn't
Didn't
Doesn't
know.
the heat help? I don't know.
I don't
Maybe
know.
It just
I mean,
packs
there's
it all
water
in
in the rice. I didn't know that I was supposed to wash the rice.
You guys don't do the Uncle Ben's pouches that are like 2 minutes? No?
I do. I get sometimes for my kids. Trader Joe's has the microwave in
Yeah.
the bag, 3 minutes, and it's done.
Yeah, easy peasy.
But usually I make my own rice.
Yeah, I guess you
Everyone's going, oh my God, wash the rice.
I did not know that either. But because I make mine and I can't wash mine because mine comes in a bag.
I do like Trader Joe's has the box of organic rice, 3 bags frozen rice. You just throw them in the microwave for 3 minutes. It's
Yeah.
like quick and easy.
Quick and
But
easy.
I loved my rice maker, rice cooker.
Hmm.
We need a new one.
Seems like 30 minutes is a long time to make.
Well, if you start it before you start anything else.
Yeah.
And I need to prepare my meals for the week. I didn't get to do it because I was out of town this weekend. I usually have a little side of rice to go with my vegetables and my protein. So I start the rice first, and then I cook up everything else, and then I put it into my Tupperware, and I bring it to work.
Uncle Ben's
It's an
rice.
exciting life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very exciting. It's surprising that you don't use Uncle Ben's.
All right, well, there's anything you recommend at Trader Joe's? Do you have any favorites?
I don't go there much. Here's my problem with I don't have a problem with it. It's a great place. I always buy stuff there and I go, well, it's from Trader Joe's. It's healthy. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. I got it this
That's
all.
not true.
Yeah, I know. But I'm like, oh, these ice cream sandwiches, they're from Trader. I'll just have 3 because they're from here.
It's not a healthy store. It's not a health food store.
It feels healthier, and that's what I run into. I also, here's the other thing. I also end up always buying a bunch of stuff there that I never make, ever. Buy frozen stuff for the kids, never. Boxes of Trader Joe's in our freezer.
I think they do little treats quite well. Like I get their chocolate mints and different things, the little cookies.
I go to Vaughn's and I go to Stater Brothers. That's pretty much it.
Big store.
Yeah.
Big grocery.
I go to Big Grocery. I do support Big Grocery. You're right. You got me again. I do. I should go local.
I've got Vaughn's and Costco on the agenda today.
Vaughn's and Costco today.
Double.
I'm going to go hit with Bo today. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to. And then, of course, our Padres taking on Nick Martinez tonight. I'm very excited about that.
All right. Also on Paul's agenda is the Reindl Report. We'll get to that after our last check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Winding down our morning commute with the Crestline Coastline, south on 5 at Manchester. It looks like several vehicles got into it. They're blocking the fast lane. Fortunately, no other problems on our roads. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul. All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a oh yeah? Oh yeah.
All right.
All right.
Paulie, Mike says, Ben, please wash your rice. Rice contains arsenic, and you need to wash that out. So you're just you're dying a slow death.
Already dead.
Yeah, you are already dead. How much arsenic can one man consume? Let's find out. You want to talk about a good radio bit?
I mean, shouldn't they have that in large, like lettering on the packages, like
Arsenic.
wash this or you're gonna die? I don't read the fine print on the bag of rice before I make it. I just assume I can make it.
Yeah, you probably should.
Probably should.
No.
Probably should. I eat asbestos raw from buildings. I'll just stop by and just grab a handful. I'm going to live forever.
Cyanide? There's no cyanide there either? Oh, my goodness.
Arsenic. Wow. All right. Take us away, Paulie.
All right, got a couple of news items here from the world of football. A couple of guys. I don't know. You guys heard about the Kelsey brothers before?
I think so, yeah.
They,
football players.
They run a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. No. Travis Kelsey is the first story here. He signed a 2-year, $34.25 million contract extension yesterday. It's going to make him the highest paid tight end in the NFL. I was a little surprised to find out that he's already 34. I think he turns 35 in October, so basically for the next season, he'll be 35. But, man, I don't know why. I love seeing a guy in the same uniform for his entire career.
I do too. Yeah.
I don't know if this is his last contract. I would say it's certainly his last big contract, especially if they win another 1 or 2 rings over the next couple of years. Just go out on top. But Travis Kelsey going to stay in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes and company for 2 more years, getting paid.
So he'll be the highest paid tight end in football.
Yes.
Which makes some sense. Sure. And that
He's
is
still a
about
beast.
I didn't know he was a free agent.
It's
an extension.
Contract
Okay.
extension.
Got it.
So that's about $17 million per year.
Yeah.
To get tackled and to have to go up
Beaten
against, big, giant defensive linemen and block and all that.
All the work you put in.
And his girlfriend probably makes that for what? A half of a concert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
17 million?
Set.
Yeah, like one leg of a tour, she makes 10 times that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Like half of one concert, maybe, for what Travis Kelsey makes in a year.
It's quite the power couple,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, he posted on social media, "It's an honor and a pleasure, and I can't wait to get after it these next 2 years. Chiefs forever." Patrick Mahomes celebrated the extension. He said, "I told y'all, I'll never let him leave." Congrats, my guy.
Everyone in the dugout was doing Patrick Mahomes' voice the other day, and it laid me out. It's so funny. I'm him.
I'm him.
I'm him.
It's good to see something good finally happen for Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yes. Well, the other half of that podcast of the Kelsey brothers, Jason Kelsey, now he has retired from the NFL, and both of these guys are going to have plenty of options for careers after football.
More than we would want, I think, at this point. I mean, look what the Manning brothers have parlayed their scene into. It's crazy.
And I think the Kelsey brothers are much more entertaining than
They
the Manning brothers.
definitely are. Definitely.
Well, speaking of the Mannings, ESPN, Jason Kelsey is set to join ESPN this football season for their Monday night countdown. He'll be an analyst there. And then while we're talking about the broadcast side of football, if you watch, I don't really watch games on Sundays. If I'm watching anything, it's Red Zone, and they bounce around. You don't get a lot of the commentators during the games or the studio analysts, but on CBS there is a little bit of a shakeup. Andrew Marchand from The Athletic recently wrote that Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason are out on the NFL Today for CBS, and they're replacing both of them with just one guy. Matt Ryan recently retired officially from the NFL, and I think he did some analyst work last season. I remember seeing him.
I don't know him. He seems boring to me.
Yeah.
That show was getting a little on the older side.
They're going to bring back Bill Cowher, Nate Burleson, and J.J. Watt did a handful of appearances as well. On their studio show.
Nate Burleson was the young guy of the crowd. I mean, Sims, Esiason, we're talking about quarterbacks from like the 80s.
Yeah.
James
It's
Brown
2024
sticking
now.
around. He's going to
Shut
host
up,
it.
Ben. Boomer still got his radio gig.
I did see that
He re-upped.
Yes.
Jason Kelsey, you said, going to Monday Night Countdown, he's replacing Robert Griffin III, who's going to be focusing more on his college football broadcasting, which I think he was excellent at. Every game that I saw
really
him
good.
doing, he was really good at that. So hopefully everybody in a good spot. And Boomer, You'll still hear him doing his 30-second updates every morning.
Hey,
during our
happy
show.
birthday wishes go out to former big leaguer Ron Say. What? That's all you have to. Ron turns 49 years old today. He's a really good player. All right. Thanks for that. He literally does birthday shout-outs on the Boomer, the National Report.
I'm Boomer Esiason.
I'm Boomer Esiason. All right. I'm getting rid of that.
They've shortened those to like 22 seconds.
Bro,
so
they used to be
he has
3 minutes
he has
long
to
on our
really,
station.
really rip through it fast.
He's like, I got nothing else to talk about nationally. Whose birthday is it today?
You know what? I just remembered. We never actually played this. There was a one of those Sports Minute updates on our station late last week, and we saved it.
We did.
For a Don't Do This, and we never got to it. Oh, surprise, surprise. Adam,
doesn't sound like us.
Adam was actually listening during commercial breaks, and he goes, "Oh my God, did you guys hear that sports update?" I went and pulled it. This was last week on the 25th. And I just labeled it Boomer Esiason update, talking about Seymour Wiener. Remember Seymour
That's right.
Wiener?
Adam was very hot on this one.
This is Boomer Esiason with an Odyssey Sports Minute, sponsored by WeatherGuard Truck and Van Equipment. They're just as driven as the hardworking pros they serve. Credit the Mets promotional department with a home run. To beef up their $1 hot dog night next Tuesday, they enlisted World War II veteran Seymour Wiener. Get it? Whom they honored earlier this season. In my book, this social media gag passes mustard. How about that? I'm Boomer Esiason.
Get it?
Yeah, we get it.
Hey,
Wieners,
you get it?
hot dogs.
Wiener, Seymour Wiener.
Funny.
Holy cow.
Funny stuff.
Yeah, there's a little. He's got a little bit of Scotty Burrell in him. Hey, what's up?
It passes mustard, though, he said, not mustard.
Mustard.
It was a hot dog pun.
Beef up. Did you get that one? Did you get it?
I do.
That's what I'm going to start doing after every joke. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get what I said?
All right.
Did you guys hear that, Seymour Wiener?
Finally, a story from the content gods directly for one Stephen Woods. Yes. Dave & Buster's is on the brink of allowing customers to bet on arcade games.
Uh-huh.
So you already
This
pay
is like
for
a dream.
the ability to play the games.
Uh-huh.
Now they are
can
working
bet.
on a way it's going to go through their app.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
a sports book. Dave & Buster's sports book.
No, that's what I originally thought when I saw the headline. It's not that way. Through the app, adults age 18 and older can place real money wagers on the arcade games that they're playing with their friends.
So, like,
fantastic.
I'll give you 12-1 odds that you can't hit the 100 on the skee ball on the next throw or something like that.
Do you know what my son did? He hit the 10, the 10,000. I've never seen it done. Never, ever, ever in my life have I seen.
Is that the one up in the tiny corner?
Top corner.
In the corner.
That's
the sucker pin.
That's the sucker
because
pin.
you missed that, and it rolls all the way to the bottom. You get the minimum
You get
score.
the 20 points.
Now,
or
if you
whatever.
stay to the middle and go after the 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, whatever it is, if you come up a little short, you can still get a decent score. But if you go for that one in the top corner and you miss it, you're down to the minimum.
Correct.
It's the sucker
He
bet.
hit it,
Never
dude.
go after the upper corner.
I've never gotten it. I've never seen anyone get it. And he walks up when we were there a couple weeks ago. And I was actually playing another game with Taylor. And I heard the other dad, Kevin, was with us go, "Oh, my God." And I go, what? He goes, "He just hit the 10,000. I'm like, "No, he did not." And Bo's looking like, "What?" I'm like, "Only you little turd, gets the 10,000 points."
What other games are there that we can wager on at
Well,
Dave
it says
& Buster's?
here, customers can soon make a friendly $5 wager on Hot Shots basketball, a bet on skee ball, or other arcade games.
Bo in there just hustling $5 bets. Just 10, 10, 10, 10.
Well, you got to be 18, and you got to have the app. That's how it's all running through there. And so this technology is expected to roll out here over the next couple of months.
I can't believe
Air
this.
hockey? Can you bet air hockey? Feels like the possibility of cheating could be rampant in air hockey.
Big time. That's a interesting idea that they have. I don't. It's just to get more people to download their app, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
I assume that the numbers they're not going to allow you to make $10,000 bets on
Right,
skee ball.
$5. They said.
It's not like two guys sitting there playing skee ball couldn't have just said, "All right, I'll bet you $5."
That's true.
100%. Yeah. All right, $5. I kick your ass on this game.
Wait, hold on. Let me get out the app. Let me register our names so we can
Yeah.
bet $5 against
$5.
each other on this skee ball game.
How are you at skee ball?
pretty decent.
Yeah, I'm
because
not
my
bad.
strategy's good. You go up to the 40,
go up to the middle.
the 40 or whatever, the
Yeah.
4,000. And if you come up a little bit short, you get the 3. And you just kind of solidly put up a good score and let your opponent wildly chase the 10,000, the upper in the corner.
Yeah, you
which
shoot
is
for the middle.
always-
Sometimes you get the very top one, which is
Yeah.
nice when you
Yeah.
do. It's a definite rush.
And it's much easier to throw straight than try to angle it up into the corner skee ball slot.
My littlest one, Taylor, throws just overhand because he doesn't know how to roll it. So he just walks with clang, and those balls are hard wood and hits the metal and it rolls away.
Are they made out of wood?
They're wood.
That's what they are.
They're wooden. Yes, they're wooden. You know that. Ski balls.
And they look wooden, but
They're
I've never
wooden.
known if.
Well, I don't know if there's some guy in there shaping real wood, but they look wooden. They feel wooden. They're firm.
Rich mahogany.
Rich mahogany balls. They feel very firm. Well, that's an interesting concept by Dave.
How often do you think they clean those?
Not very much. Dude, I feel every time I leave there, I'm like,
disgusting.
It's disgusting. All these kids scratching their ass, playing video games, and God knows, wiping their nose. It's just nasty, nasty.
Now, if they could just introduce on the Hooters app, like betting on how many wings Woods can eat. He's got a full night planned in Mission Valley next time he goes down there.
It was not my worst night as a parent. I'll tell you that. I've had a lot worse than that night. That's it for us.
Thank you, Paulie.
You're
Good job
welcome.
to get us home here with the Rondo Report. Annie and Elston standing by. They will be coming up next. Of course, got Padres baseball later today, 5:40 Eco Water SoCal pregame show with Sam Levitt. He was on so late last night. I was listening to Sammy take angry callers on my way home the entire
pissed?
drive
Were they
last night.
pissed?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a tough one. Just for Sammy's sake, I hope Padres can come up with a win tonight against the Cincinnati Reds. Either way, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to discuss it all. Really hope it's not a 6-game losing streak. But,
Have a good show, fellas.
We'll be here either way. Woodsy
Hey,
will
have
not.
fun.
I will.
Have a good day off with the kids, and we will see you on Thursday morning. For Paulie, for Woodsy, I'm Ben. Have a great rest of your Tuesday from all of us here at San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.